Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about tactical marines or Gabriel Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
All right. I suppose we should talk about NIDS then.
We should probably talk about NIDS. Yeah, welcome back from Moving House, Tony.
Hello,
I'm sure everybody missed you.
They did miss you.
In the comments, tell us how much you missed Tony. Yeah.
That'd be some weird messages. I think YouTube's doing a funny thing because I saw earlier it popped up with new comments because I always read the new comments. And I try and respond to them. I respond to all of them, I'll say. But there was one that popped up apparently that was left for us 2 months ago. And it just said, "Why are you being such a D-bag?"
Okay. And I thought, you specifically?
I don't know.
Right.
I was just like, it was 2 months old, so I felt a bit wrong replying now. And I'm sorry, person who sent that comment, but I've got two important questions. One, who's a D-bag? And two, if it's me, because I am a D-bag.
It's fair. I mean, it could be worse. You could have submitted lists to the Blood Angels commander for review about a year ago. Never heard fucking anything whatsoever.
Oh, I've heard about that guy. It's because he's a dick. He picks and chooses.
Yeah,
he just goes down and goes, "I ain't doing that one."
So apparently, it's not just my YouTube channel that occasionally hides the new comments. Like
it looks like it,
other channels get this as well, and then you do feel like a D-bag because someone left you this comment 6 months ago, like, "I'm going to a GT on Friday, and I just need to know what's best," and you haven't replied.
Yeah. I mean, if you're that desperate to get John's comments on your list 3 days before a GT, then seriously, you need a lot more help than we can give.
But hey, but also hit us up on Discord if that's the case.
Because John's never even won a GT.
We're going there.
He might have been on the top table once or twice, though, if I recall. I seem to recall hearing that occasionally.
Sketchy.
I don't know.
It seems sketchy to me.
On the wind or something.
Didn't he get smashed last weekend at a GT as well?
It did get smashed, but now
7th out of 12th. I was following his progress. It was very
7th out of 12.
Did you know that if win rate wasn't important, he'd have actually been second on pure victory points?
He did get second on victory points. It's every
time.
Enough,
though, actually winning does matter.
I was going to say, every time that you need to like win games or score high, that seems to be my problem.
One of these days, John's going to have had enough of us taking a piss out of him, and it's all going to go horribly, horribly wrong. Just like Tony trying to drink that beer is currently going horribly, horribly wrong.
I wasn't expecting that to come out quite so vigorously.
That's all right. I'm not going there. That's wrong. Yeah, that's far too easy a comment.
So it's not funny either. I've got beer.
Actually, vaguely on topic. Oh no. John's got a thing that he hasn't painted at all in the last 2 weeks.
I have painted it. How dare you? This is gonna help.
Yes, you sprayed it red, and it looks like you've gotten past the red stage.
Almost.
Have you played against Nids at all, John?
I have played against Nids, and I played them at the RTT where I came third. If you just want to check, there's a plaque here that just says third in RTT, and I beat.
Really?
Yeah, I beat Nids.
Show us. Hold it up to the camera.
Wasn't that an RTT run by your mate, and yet you still couldn't even win it?
Ooh, that's a nice plaque actually. I like that.
Well, that is a nice plaque.
Yeah.
I did beat Nids, and I beat Nids right before their codex actually put their list down like 300 points. Zona Thropes and No Line of Sight Mortal Wounds are like insane, and Blood Angels are actually one of the few factions that are good against that because of Soul Warden and the 5-up bubble that hits,
we've got quite a few
hits all of our guys.
ways of getting through that.
Cool.
Right, for beer drinking fans, this is a bottle of Einstock. This is a nice beer, this one. This is an Arctic Pale Ale, so this is Icelandic beer. I really like these.
Where'd you get that, Marks?
No, they sell them in. You can get it off Ocado.
I need to go.
But I had it first in a. There's a burger shop called Honest Burger, and they make really good burgers. And they had this as their guest beer once, and I had it, and I really liked it. I'm a bit short of beer at the moment, so the local brewery that I use to get most of my beer from, and talk about on here, the non-weird ones, really pissed me off the other day when I went in there. I went in to buy some more beer and have a beer, and they were like really rude. So I was like,
screw you then. Yeah.
Back to Ocado, fuckers.
Fair enough. You just reminded me I haven't had ice cider in a very long time, so I'm going to have to order some more of that because that's really nice.
Fair enough. Right, let's talk about NIDS then, shall we?
All right, tell us about Tyranids, Tony.
So,
Tell us
NIDS,
about Tyranids,
I'll tell you what, but I'm going to get into this now. Right, there's the book. I loved it. Job done. Can we go home now?
No, tell me about Zotes. How good are Zotes these days in the
They're not in the
Codex? Why not?
I don't know. And I know that sounds like I'm just like blown off, but I genuinely don't know. Now, if you roll back to the really early fluff,
They bloody should
Zotes were they were a separate race, but they were a race that was often used by Tyranids as kind of like ambassadors.
Like
and
Krutar to Tau. It's a bit weird.
Yeah. But they've sort of retconned that out now, and now NIDS just eat everything, and they don't have any kind of like need for a diplomatic.
I'm not interested in talking.
So, but I do think it'd be nice if it come back. They did release that new Zote, didn't they, quite recently?
Back when Carnifexes were called Screamer Killers and had.
And now
really
Screamer
weird
Killer
models.
is just a type of Carnifex.
I was going to say
Do you know what? This is.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's a Zote in Blackstone Fortress, and he's got 40k rules.
I was going to say there was a Zote that I thought they released it for Necromunda. Blackstone Fortress makes sense. So, the Gene Stealer cults usually precede the Tyranids in the lore, right?
In the lore, yes, that's
they
exactly
do,
right.
but they're not. They're not linked.
They're not linked in any way, shape, or form anymore.
Well, they are and they're not. They're
part of the hive mind. They're absolutely part of the hive mind.
Sort of. They just don't know they're part of the hive mind.
Yeah, the hive mind gives them a little bit of latitude, so they can seem less.
So they view
the
the hive as a whole as kind of the coming of their gods, and they view the whole idea of that the gods are going to come and they're going to ascend into become part of the universe, sort of thing. So they view it almost like godlike and cultists against Gene Stealer cults, and their job is to reach a kind of critical mass. So it's quite clever the way this works, actually. I like the way they've thought it through. And the idea that the Gene Stealers are vanguard organisms and they're floating around on space hulks and then they infect people. Those people go and have baby people.
Using a Gene Stealer kiss is remarkably not in any way, shape or form similar to aliens. Honest, Gov.
It's not though, is it? Because of course the idea with it is they don't know they've been implanted. When they get implanted, they have a release that's into their bloodstream, which makes them forget it happened.
Okay.
So they're infected. They don't know about it. It's not alien with, you die. So they go and have babies and they're still infected. And as it goes on, the cult builds on a planet. And when it reaches a certain point, which means the population density is high enough, that attracts the hive mind because it says there's enough food over here to bother with. Whereas if it's
all the
smaller,
minds are taken over psychically by the Gene Stealer implantation.
They're not taken over. They're kind of
basically
tweaked, if that makes sense. They're kind of encouraged to think in a certain way. Unlike when the hive mind actually comes, then they're completely taken over.
Their loyalty is completely taken over.
It is, but
they
most of the
question
time it's not. They only are when they need to be. If that makes sense. So most of the time they're operating, they'll be guardsmen, they'll defend the emperor and all the rest of it. But when the hive mind needs them to, it can override that. And then they can be controlled directly, but they're not normally because that defeats the object of having them.
Not zealotry. Zealotry. Okay, and we're getting off.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's quite cool, and I like that. Back to Screamer Killers. I've just got one of the big metal ones.
Oh God! Have you ever seen one of the old Screamer Killers, John?
I think
they're the ones that have got the four arms. Like,
these giant, stubby little metal monsters, and they got like a spiky curved arm up here and a pair of spiky curved arms down here, and they're really strange.
And their mouth is permanently stuck open.
In what edition did they come out? Was it second edition?
Second edition.
Yeah, so I think they're in one of the rule books that I have in the second edition box over there. Like, remember on the really funky, bright coloured painted? It was a red model, right?
And I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. I've got that second edition Tyranid Codex, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about some NIDS.
Yeah, you've written this presentation. Let's go through
it. Let's use it. So, as always, I've given my brief overview, talking of the artwork from second edition.
That was from
second edition cover.
Was it?
One of the Epics boxes, yeah. When they had the huge Tyranid beast that was only an Epic and they never did a 40k model of, called the Dominatrix.
I loved Epic.
Stupid game.
I want to play it again.
It's a great game.
I keep looking at 3D printing to get the models. And I've now suddenly ended up with a big Orc Epic army. But
cool. Was that in your box?
So
what was that in your
box?
It was
in the big box of random crap, yeah.
Awesome.
So here's my quick overview. Let me go through this and you can quit. Viewers. Not you, Mark. You've got to stay to the end.
Oh, no.
So,
Help.
pros and cons then. Pros, they can be really fast, like really fast. And they can hit super hard in combat.
I hate that Hive Tyrant.
They've got excellent shooting units, well-rounded, cover all the bases. They've got phenomenal mortal wounds and psychic output. So they're good at moving, shooting, stabbing, and psychicking.
Yeah,
and they can be really flexible when you can build them any way you want.
Yeah, Leviathan, I guess, seems to be the core one. Is we're going to cover that later on?
We'll cover Hive Fleets.
I wouldn't have thought they had excellent shooting. To be fair,
yeah,
they've got some shooting, but they're not like they're not like Tower Eldar shooting.
If you want, you can build a purely shooting list, and it will wreck face.
There was what's the big thing that's like a cannon that has like D6 plus 2 shots? That's crazy good. I forget.
It is
the plasma bug beastie.
Yeah. I've got the book here. I can't remember the name. It's going to bug the shit out of me if you don't look up. No, you've got a couple. You've got the big one, like the really big one, the Tyrannifex. That's the one that's got the
ultimate build with the Tervigon.
No, yes, it does in the box. Yeah. And that's got some pretty bonkers weaponry. But the one that I'm a big fan of is the Exocrines.
Exocrine, yeah, I played that was in my tournament, and those things just kill. They kill guides and gravis like they're gravy, even if they're in cover.
Heavy G3 plus 6, strength 8, AP minus 4, damage 3, blast.
If you face them in the video game battle sector, they are fucking bad as well.
Really
sorry, it's D3 plus 6. I thought it was the other way around. No, it's minimum 7, D3 maximum 9. It's crazy. Yeah, but that's minus 4 and 3 damage. That's so nasty against Marines.
They're great guns. They can build a really powerful shooting army, and they've got good hive fleets to go down that route.
Yeah.
The famous one they do with that is the Harpies, because of course they just fly around and blow you up.
Yeah. And
go on.
I was going to say the Harpies are very difficult to catch as well.
Yeah, they're really, really fast. Now, there are a couple of cons, however. The first one is they can be a really complex army to play. Not to build for, particularly. They're not an army that relies heavily on very complex combos, but they are a hard army to play. Knowing when to pop off your abilities, and that because a lot of them were one use, knowing what order to do things in is very, very important. Now, if you're good with these guys, they are incredibly powerful. If you're not so good, just build a load of Screamer Killers and run forward and stab them. Because you're not going to cope with the mega complexity, because it can get it's complex to play rather than build, which I think is good, actually. It's fun because it's different to a lot of the other armies that are out there. Their units are generally very focused. They're either excellent at shooting or excellent at stabbing. They're rarely good all-rounders, with one incredibly powerful exception, which I'll come to later. The Synaptic Link is very, very powerful. Again, we'll talk about the abilities, but it's also vulnerable. The whole premise of shoot the big ones still massively applies, if not more so than ever before. If you shoot the big ones, you cripple this army very, very well. And the last one is relatively shit secondaries. Their secondaries at the moment are not that strong, and it kind of balances out. The army's very strong, the secondaries are very shite.
I'd add a rider onto that one as well, in that there are some easy to pick secondaries against them, namely the wounds kill points one, where you'll almost always do really, really well.
Yeah, whatever build they go for, they've got a lot of wounds.
Or they're playing big bugs, which are all monsters, at which point you get the kill monsters secondary, and you're going to max out on that one fairly easily. So either way, that's a vulnerability as well.
It's the points. That's where they're vulnerable. They're mostly vulnerable, to be honest. Anything to add, John? You look concerned.
No, I don't think so. I think what you said is right.
I hope so. I spent quite a lot of time reading the book.
I played them once, so cool.
But before we go any further, and this has come up before, I'm not claiming expert knowledge in these guys, and neither are John and Mark.
Objection.
We've read the book. We've looked over the stuff. John fought them once and beat them, but maybe it was a shit play. You don't know.
I've fought them a few times. I can't remember if I've beat them, but I've definitely lost to them once or twice. And if you're watching this, you know who you are. You Zona Throw spammy git. You know how bad you are. If you're watching
this and I've missed something, please let us know in the comments. Help each other out, because let's be honest, the three of us mostly play these against these rather than playing with them. So if you've got some fantastic way of killing them that we've missed, let us know. Okay, should we crack on then?
Go for it.
Sure, indeed.
Now, like I said, this isn't that complicated to build, but there are some complexities. And the first one is the idea of infinite biomorphologies, which I think is a phenomenal name for something. Now, a bit like Space Marines, they've got their traits, their chapter traits and that. So do Nids. Now, they've got their own hive fleets, and their hive fleets have got fixed ones of these, although they have an adaptive one that you can swap out for one of the hunt, lurk, or feed options. Now, your alternative is to build your own hive fleet, at which point you just pick two. You pick one from. You can only pick one from each category, but you can just pick any two you want. Now, I've not gone through. There's quite a lot. There's 5 for each, and I've not picked them all out. I've just picked a couple of interesting ones that you might want to trade out your main hive fleet for, or if you were building a hive fleet, you might pick a couple of these. I can see John's got on board already and left.
Yeah, absolutely. This used to be the thing where, because it's meant to be like an adaptation thing, the Tyranids players used to be able to pick this stuff before every single game.
Yeah, this was FAQ'd. It used to be your hive fleet. If you picked one of the main ones, you had one fixed thing you couldn't change and one adaptive that you could swap out. But you swapped out after the game started. I think you could do it before first turn, but after you decided who got first turn.
Okay.
Which was so broken.
It does sound ridiculous.
That now they've got rid of that, and you have to put it on your army roster. You can't just do that for every game.
Good. I mean, it's a shame that it loses some character, but good because that's broken.
It was just too broken. You couldn't deal with that. Yeah, I'm glad they got rid of that. The other thing they got rid of was to do with hive tyrants, and I'll talk about that when we get to them. And that was another excellent change.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go through these then. So the first ones we're going to look at then are...
I told you before, John. Go to the toilet before the stream starts.
Someone's awake.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll talk about the hunt options first of all then. So these are, if you've got the option to swap out for a hunt biomorphology, these are for you, or if you're making your own. So I picked out a couple that I rather liked. The first one was ambush predators. Which means that everything in your army can heroically intervene.
Nice.
Ouch.
Super handy.
That's quite powerful, I thought. And the other one, normal move up to 6 inches after deployment. So a pre-game move of 6 inches for your entire army.
Yep, very useful, especially for an army that wants to get really close and eat your face.
Yeah. I thought that was really powerful. Lurk is one of the other ones that you might have access to. And the two I've picked out here for are Territorial Instincts. Monsters have now got OBSEC. So that's all of your Carnifexes, everything in your army basically has now got OBSEC. Also, anything with more than 10 wounds, which is, spoiler alert, most of them, counts as 5 models.
Very cool.
Which is very powerful.
All right, no, I got a question here. So I saw this come up on another Discord related to this Imperial Knights, and this has just reminded me of it. So, the question is, any single given model can control and hold one objective, but a unit can be stretched across multiple objectives and hold multiple objectives as long as each objective is only held by a different model within that unit, right?
Right, just
If you got a knight with or a huge Tyranid beastie with a huge base that could theoretically stretch across multiple objectives and they're sort of like claiming area zones. Does this make them count as more than one model so that they can control more than one objective?
No.
Because it says it makes them count as 5 models.
Makes them count as 5 models when determined control of an objective marker, not of objective markers.
That is exactly what I said, because the other way was
it's
bullshit.
Not plural.
But yes,
bullshit.
I'm glad you agree with me on that one. That was a very, very strange reading of the rules. I wanted to see if anybody else thought there was any mileage to it or not.
Fair enough. Another one that I thought was quite nice was Unfeeling Resilience. Now, it might not sound that good, but it means you count as double the number of wounds remaining for your wound track, and most of the big beasties will degrade. And if you've got sort of 250 point plus monsters, having them degrade is painful when they're degrading in weapon skill and movement. So having them count as double is really, really powerful for things like Hive Tyrants and that.
Makes sense.
The double actually is kind of huge. If I remember correctly, because Iron Hands used to have this, right? And it was like, for basically for lower bracket, you're only ever on the bottom bracket for a lot of stuff if you're on one wound. Right? Because if you're on 2 wounds, that's actually you on 4, which usually just creeps into the middle bracket. So you're basically saying, like, unless you leave them on 1 wound, they're never going
There's
on
an Imperial Knight subfaction that does much the same sort of thing I looked at.
It depends on the monster, but it's really powerful. And there's a particular monster. There's a couple of particular monsters that really rely on this because they degrade really heavily and become useless otherwise, just too slow.
Which ones?
Things like the Tyrannofex.
Okay.
You don't want to have a 6-inch move, and some of the movement gets even slower.
Okay.
5-inch moves on things that you don't want that.
Yeah.
Cool.
You need to be able to move. And if you're a shooting monster and your ballistic skill degrades, you are fucked.
Useless. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, the last ones that I've picked out.
So there's a tactic there. If they're not taking that, try and just put a few wounds on the big monsters to try and degrade them.
Yeah, and watch them hit with their very few shots.
Definitely useful to do. Yeah.
Okay, so the last set are Feed. Now this is probably the most broken trait that I've ever seen. Right? Relentless Hunger. Each time a unit with this adaptation fails a charge, it can make a normal move of up to 3 inches.
How does that work with CP reroll and the charge?
Well, if you fail it, you can move up to 3 inches.
And then charge the same target
No.
again?
You can't
Instead
move
of
and then
charging.
re-roll it. You got to wait for the final result of the charge.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So why is it why is it broken then?
Because it doesn't say towards the enemy.
Oh, that's true, I suppose.
So what that says is you can start declaring very silly charges that you can't possibly make just to have 3 inches more movement onto that objective or behind that building or into engagement range with a different unit or anywhere you want, really.
Yeah, that sounds a bit silly.
It probably needs to say towards the nearest unit, yeah.
And so you can use it just to get onto objectives. Like, I'm going to charge that one over there that's like 12 inches away, the absolute maximum. Say I'm going to charge it. No, I can re-roll if I pass it so that I fail it, move 3 inches in the opposite direction onto an objective.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That sounds like bullshit.
It's so broken.
That rule just needs to say towards the nearest enemy.
Just needs to say you must move towards the nearest enemy or whatever. Because without it, that is the most broken thing. And the last one I've gone with, Wreathed in Shadow. You can't overwatch all set to defend.
Too strong.
It depends on who you face.
It's useful against some armies.
Yeah, this was more powerful when you could switch it in before the game started.
Yeah, that makes sense because fuck you, Tao.
But if you're going with a heavy kind of, especially one that's reliant on a lot of gaunts and things like that, a melee army, I could see not being able to overwatch against you coming up more often than not. Because you're going into melee and most things are going to want to be able to overwatch. Even Blood Angels want to overwatch you sometimes if you charge the thing with flamers.
Very true.
Yeah.
So I could see that being quite powerful. So these are some of the infinite biomorphologies, but let's look at the Hive Fleet specific. Let's say you don't want to make your own, you want to use them.
Did you make those words up?
No, that's the proper words.
Okay.
This is a book that is so full of ridiculous made-up words that are awesome. So let's look at our Hive Fleets. So the Hive Fleets have these picked for you, but you can swap out one for one of the others. So the first one we're going to look at, I've not done all of these, this is just some of the ones I thought were interesting, is Hive Fleet Behemoth.
That was the artwork on the Epic box and I was wrong. Sorry.
Yes, I know. The one that
because that's an X-Screen in the background and a Harrow Specs in the background, and that's where they first appeared.
The other one was the cover of Codex Tyranids 2nd edition. Now, So, Behemoth, these are just combat monsters. That's what they're going for. If they charge, they get to add 1 to their strength. Now, that's really powerful because there are a lot of things in this book that are kind of strength 7 or strength 8 or strength. That extra point of strength tips them over into the next bracket in a lot of cases.
To double things, yeah.
To double things or be 1 higher to wound on a 3+ against vehicles and that sort of stuff. So it's a really, really handy trait. Their adaptive part of it is they can reroll charges, which is nice. But you can chop that out for any one of the hunt or lurk biomorphologies. So if you want, you can take any of those first sort of 4 that I've got up there instead of reroll charges.
Cool.
Which is quite nice. The next one I've picked out here is Hydra. High Fleet Hydra.
Hydra.
Now, this is a complicated one, but if they attack a unit that has got less models than them, they get to +1 to hit.
Okay.
Vehicles and monsters count as 5. Now, this is complicated because it works both ways. So let's say you've got 1 guy left and you charge a dreadnought, will say something. The dreadnought will count as 5. So if you're using a unit of 3 warriors and you charge a dreadnought count as 5, you count as 3. You don't get your +1.
Okay, all right. That's what you mean by works both ways. Right.
So it's very powerful if you're going with quite a hoardy army, which is really what this is leaning. Swarming instincts. It kind of makes sense of that. Their adaptive is quite nice. Add 1 to your move. You can also move an additional 3 inches when you consolidate, which can be quite powerful.
And as Blood Angel players, we know how powerful +2 move is on jump pack units, so +1 army-wide is going to be amazing.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And you can swap out for a feed or hunt, if you like, if you don't want the +1 move. But I feel you probably do want the +1 move.
If you're running tons of little beasts and stuff, yeah, probably.
A lot of people would see +1 move and think, +1 inch move? How much difference is that going to make, really? And
especially when I'd rather have something that helps me kill people.
But think about it. +1 move, that takes 1 inch off your charge range, and it's an extra inch towards the objective, and it's just flexibility on threat range. It's so useful in really subtle ways.
Yeah. And it's always useful rather than being only useful when you're in melee.
Very much so.
That's quite important. So the next one I've picked out here is High Fleet Kronos. Now, this is another one that's deceptively powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Add 4 inches to the range of all your guns. Now, a lot of their guns are very short-ranged. They've got a lot of 18-inch
range stuff.
Yeah, so adding 4 to that is quite powerful. It's even better when you look at the second half of it. When you're in half range, you add an extra point of AP.
And if that doesn't sound like much, think about how much Armour of Contempt is helping Marines right now.
Yeah,
it's
so that
true.
is really powerful on things like Termagants, which have only got AP -1 normally. So this puts them up to AP -2 if they're within 11 inches rather than 9 inches.
Cool.
That's quite powerful. They've also got a couple of nice sort of... with each of these, you also get a Warlord trait, Psychic Power, and a Relic. A few of them are good, and I'll talk about them later, but a lot of them are a bit dross, to be honest.
Okay.
You're mostly taking it for your adaptation.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, this is where you go if you want to build a shooting army.
Okay.
What about the High Fleet that is the bane of the Blood Angels?
This one.
Leviathan, indeed it is. And this is what I played in the tournament, and they're a nightmare actually for Blood Angels to deal with because they basically have transhuman for everything that has synapse on a 4, and non-transhuman it's synapse on a 3, right?
Yeah, so they've got full transhuman on anything that's a synapse creature.
Which is most of their
so
army.
they can only be wounded on a 4 or up. And they've got baby transhuman on everything else, so they can't be wounded on a 1 or 2.
Disgusting.
Which is also really powerful. This is for shooting and melee.
Sickening.
Yeah, it's an ongoing bane of our lives as a Blood Angel player, where like our main trait our main thing is like +1 to wound. Well, when we play armies that just have a way of countering that, and that's why I feel like
I think the order should be changed.
Yeah,
so R1 comes in after that happens.
I feel like if it's as important as Blood Angels +1, it should say this +1 gets applied at the very end, right? Because it's like our super doctrine. Well, it's not that fucking super because they just turn it off. It's a tough one for us to fight into, Leviathan, for sure.
It's very powerful. Their adaptive trait is not quite so good. You get a reroll 1-hit roll. It's great if you're using really, really big stuff. We talked earlier about things like Tyrannifexes and
good on the wings.
Got a really big hit.
The winged hive tyrant is good on.
It gets a single reroll.
I kind of like that no army can be good against everything, and there will be rock armies to counter scissor armies, so that there will be things that will just, if you become against this, you're on an uphill battle. And I like it that it's not necessarily always equal. You've got to take all this stuff into account when you build and write your army if you go into a tournament.
Reroll 1-hit roll when you're using the Winged Hive Tyrant, for example. The Winged Hive Tyrant has got a heavy venom cannon. It's got 3 shots. It's hitting on 2s. All right, you get 1 reroll in it.
Oh, it's not bad. Fuck the Winged Hive Tyrant. I hate that unit. It can die.
There's a lot of ways that you can actually reroll that anyway. It's not all that handy. So often you see people swap this out for one of the feed or hunt by one of the other morphologies.
I still think it's decent. Like the Hive Tyrant has that relic where every time it makes a hit, it just does a mortal wound in addition to damage. Or maybe it was a wound in addition to damage. All I know is every time the Hive Tyrant fights me, I'm taking five mortal wounds.
Gazillion extra mortal wounds every time it wounds you.
Yeah, there's a few different. It's got a few different ways of powering that up and things like that. It's not bad. It's what I'm saying with it. If you're relying on big beasties, it's pretty good. If you're relying on lots of smaller beasties, there are better choices.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Hive fleets. It's not all the Hive fleets. Some of them I couldn't be asked to write about, to be honest. These are the ones that I've picked out as being particularly interesting.
I guess
some of them I was going
to say, as a new player coming to Tyranids for the first time, because that's partly why we make these slideshows. You could by picking Leviathan, you at least give your whole army like a reasonable level of reliability in terms of damage with your rerolls, and you give them a reliability in terms of like their survivability. So if you were a new player and you end up with like, oh crap, I put that guy out in the open, there's a chance he's going to survive because you can't wound him effectively.
These buffs will always be useful against whoever you face in whatever situation.
Yeah. All of the Hive fleets have got their benefits, but overall, if I was only going to pick one, it'd be this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that we see in tournament play over the last year. I don't know if that's changed in the last few months, but definitely over the last year, we've seen this one a lot.
The other ones, so especially things like Kronos, you can do more damage with. So the other Hive fleets, you can do a bit more damage, but Leviathan makes them so tough.
Yeah.
It's always useful, which is why we tend to see it more than the others.
Cool.
So let's carry on then. Now, I've mentioned already the synaptic imperatives. Now, these are a little bit complicated, and these are one of the reasons that the army can be tricky to play with. Okay. Now, I've put the proper wording on there, and you can read that if you like. But in a nutshell, every one of the synapse creatures has got its own synaptic imperative. Now, this is a ability.
And they're all different from unit to unit.
And they're all different. Every synapse creature has its own unique one. Okay. Now, the synapse range for these guys works by, if you're in an aura of a synapse creature, you can have that apply to you. Now, normally that means you never run away. Ignore morale, which is fine. Now, interestingly, this will chain from unit to unit, which is quite powerful. So if you spread your synapse
creature to synapse creature.
So if you spread your synapse around the thing, you give your whole army the synaptic benefit.
Because now the changed from like radio mass to radio mass to radio mass sort of thing.
So the synaptic imperative are these unique abilities that each one of the synapse creatures brings. Once per game, at the start of a battle round, you will declare which one is active. Now, you don't have to declare any. but you pick one of your Synaptic Imperatives to be active for that battle round. The caveats are it cannot have been used before, and if the creature that brings it is dead, it can't be used either, although there is a stratagem to allow you to use one for a dead creature. The final caveat that is not mentioned in the original text, but is in the FAQ, if you bring a Hive Tyrant, which has got its own one, I can't remember what it is, but it's quite good, it's rerolls, isn't it? And the Hive Tyrant must be your Warlord, because it is a Hive Tyrant. If your Hive Tyrant dies, you can benefit from no Synaptic Imperatives for the rest of the game. This means that if you bring that winged Hive Tyrant that everyone doesn't like, and your opponent kills it, you will not benefit from Synaptic Imperatives for the rest of the game, even if you have other creatures that are bringing them.
Interesting.
This means that Hive Tyrants are very powerful, but they are a point of vulnerability for your list. You
What
must
happens
protect
if
it.
your opponent if the Tyranid player brings multiple Hive Tyrants?
You cannot. You are limited to one per.
Is it one per
army.
detachment or one per army?
Detachment. I think you can bring multiple detachments with them.
But I think it'll be the one that's the Warlord that's the problem, right?
It's the
So if, specifically if the Warlord dies.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a bit complicated because they try and stop you bringing multiple Hive Tyrants. I'm trying to find the specific wording of the Hive Tyrant rule because this was added in later. This is one of the nerfs that Tyranids got. So it was FAQ'd in a little bit later because originally, if it died, you didn't care, and that's when we were seeing all of the Hive Tyrants running around being horrible. Whereas
and
now
Tyranids
you've got to
have
protect
been
them a little
doing
bit.
really, really well recently in this as well. You see them in a lot of tournament reports and top table reports and so on.
Yeah, they're really solid. They are really, really solid. Okay, so you can include a maximum of one Hive Tyrant model in each Hive Tendril detachment from your army.
Okay. So you could bring more than one if you bring more than one detachment.
Multiple detachments. Yeah. If I'm honest,
In which case, would you need to kill both of them, or would you just need to kill the one that's
Do you know
the
what?
Warlord?
I'm not sure. I'm going to check the FAQ's actual wording on that now to double check that.
I appreciate I'm asking sort of like specific questions here, but it's kind of important because one of my local gamers plays Tyranids a lot, and I would really love to know how to take his army apart.
Shoot the big bugs.
Cheers. They're normally quite tough.
It's been that way since second edition. It's not changed.
I don't know if you've noticed, but being Blood Angels, we don't have a lot of shooting. Although Plasma Inceptors are a good shooting unit, I'm given to understand these days.
Apparently Stephen Box trialled them, then dropped them for the tournament.
Oh, did he drop them? Oh, I didn't hear that.
He did drop them, yeah. That's why I said it.
Look at John there, right? Not rising to the bait.
I've got some Plasma Inceptors. Did I ever show you my Plasma Inceptors with Sanguinius Guard wings on them? Got them right here.
I'm sorry, I can't find it at the moment. It's
don't worry about
the
it.
app version of the FAQs. I'll have to check on the full version.
It's cool.
But it is quite important to check that.
Yeah.
I believe it would be just your Warlord one.
Yeah, that would make sense
wrong.
to me. So maybe I'll look it up later.
I could be wrong.
Because I'm the one asking.
Right, this is a bad conversion, so reserve your judgment.
His wings are upside down, John.
That was on
His
purpose,
feathers are pointing downwards.
but I was trying to do something cool and different.
But then his feathers are pointing in the wrong direction. They wouldn't work.
But the problem is they've got those giant Gravis jump pack things. There's no room to put the wings in.
I'm being a dick, John. It looks pretty good.
It was just to do something different with them, and I made them gold as well because I like to make some of the more elite guys gold.
Have you ever used them in a game?
Once, and they fucking failed everything and killed nothing, and then they got benched.
Oh, I see. This is why you're so bitter, is it? Okay.
I mean, I'll need to try them again. I use my Bolter Inceptors a lot.
I like the Bolter Inceptors. I've dropped them at the moment, but I do still quite like them.
Anyway, we've kind of diverged here, and it's all my fault. I apologize.
They have.
So,
Right, okay, back to Synaptic Imperatives. Okay, so this is quite important then that you lose that ability when you've killed it.
Okay.
And if you kill the Hive Tyrant, you lose all of them. We're not sure what happens if you have two Hive Tyrants.
I think if you kill the warlord, you lose them all. So
if we don't get the chance to look it up in this thing, then please comment and tell us, because we might remember to look it up later.
Okay, so
you guys just had a warning crop up.
I have.
Yep.
The call is ending in 10 minutes. Apparently,
Is that new?
That is new. We're on a timer. Your call will end soon. I guess when the call ends, I'll call you guys right back. Let's continue.
And you'll have to edit it out later. Brilliant.
It will be edited out later.
There's no way John's
It's
going to
clearly
edit
not
this bit
going
out.
to be. No. All right.
We're going to have a discussion about the 10-minute timer. Right, let's go over the synaptic imperatives, then we'll cut there and move on to the next call, I think.
Yeah.
So I've not bring up all of the synaptic imperatives. Every synaptic creature's got one. There's quite a few synaptic creatures in the codex. I've brought out a few that I think are really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, remember these will last for one battle round. So the first one I've come up with is the one you get from your Hive Tyrant. When this synaptic imperative is active, now it says here about 6 inches is synapse model, but remember this chains across your things.
And if you're a winged Hive Tyrant, that's a fucking huge sort of area that the wings can
fall back and charge.
Nice.
Very nice.
Pretty powerful. There's a lot of abilities that activate when you charge. So being able to fall back and then charge back in is quite powerful.
Mm-hmm.
The next one I've pulled out is the one you get from Tyranid Warriors, which I thought was rather nice because it's exploding 6s in melee.
Very nice.
That is very nice as well, yeah.
Especially if you're using big hordes of stuff that have got lots and lots of attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't like that, you could go with the Tyranid Primes version and have exploding 6s in shooting.
Tyranid Prime?
Yeah.
Which
It's like a big warrior. It's like a big warrior. It's like it's the HQ warrior, but they've got some complicated
I was going to say it's the
about,
character version of the Tyranids Warriors, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
so
Okay.
they've got some rules about they don't take up slots, or the warriors don't take up slots, one or the other. If you've got warriors in the Tyranid Primes, a lot of them have that kind of complicated interaction. Zonothropes don't take up a slot if you've got a Neurothrope in your army, this sort of thing.
Okay.
I thought that was quite nice. So you can have exploding 6s in melee or exploding 6s in shooting, as long as you think 24. And then the final one that I've pulled out is this one, and it's the one you get from Zonothropes, and it's one of the reasons that everyone brings at least one unit, because it's for one turn, all of your monsters have got 4-up invuln, and all of your other stuff gets a 5-up one.
That's nice. That's very good.
That's really powerful.
Been wondering where that came from. Okay, cool.
If you pop that kind of turn 2, so turn 1 you hide, turn 2 you pop that, because that's kind of when all the damage is really coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really powerful.
Okay.
So yeah, that's synaptic imperatives. Thoughts?
All right. Yeah. Nice.
But
We like them.
there's a lot. And definitely, I never knew that when I was playing against Tyranids that I could have disabled these. So it's good to know how that actually works and that's a possibility.
Things like the Zonothropes, if you know that they haven't popped it and you can wipe that squad, then he'll never pop it. There is a strat to use one that's dead, but it's quite expensive.
What, like 2 or 3 CP, I assume? Then?
Yeah, and it's in this days of starved CP, that's even if he does pop it, it still costs him a lot of CP to do it, which is a win on your side.
Okay.
Yeah, kill the big beasties.
Well, not necessarily the big beasties, but the linchpin beasties.
Right, yes, the synaptic beasties, because Tyranid Warriors are a troop choice.
All right. So,
right. Are we back?
yes.
We haven't gone
Are
anywhere.
you recording?
Yeah, we haven't,
Feeling
we
good.
haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah, that'd have been
me.
such a smooth transition. It'd be like we never left.
Yeah.
Let's rock on then. Synaptic
Do it.
imperatives done. Adaptive physiologies then. This is a complex stuff.
They
So
started
adaptive
giving
physiology.
So just going back briefly a minute, they started giving every army a sort of Doctrines comparable kind of ability
Because
thing,
it
haven't they,
gives you
really?
another layer of cognitive load to think about when you're planning your army and playing your game and that. So I appreciate it, to be honest, because it just adds a little bit more complexity. So adaptive physiologies. Now these are your paid-in points upgrades. Now, unlike Space Marines or whatever, these are not unique to a specific model in your army.
Okay.
Anything that can take adaptive physiologies, which is pretty much most of your monsters, can take any of these, including a couple that would be redundant, because there's one that gives you synapse, but you can put it on a synapse creature.
But they fit the same slot as chapter upgrades and Vertanic cancels and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So you pay the
Excellent
points
upgrades.
and an upgrade happens to a model. You can do it to as many models as you want in the army, but each one can only be used once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, I've not gone through all of these because there's loads. I've just picked out a few that sort of stuck out to me as pretty good.
Yep.
So the first one I've picked up here is Enraged Reserves.
You buy this for a whole unit, right?
No, well, it's for a model.
Okay, so you
You
couldn't
put it on
buy
a
this.
monster, basically. So you've got Carnifex, you go, right, I'm going to buy Enraged Reserves, and now it's got this thing.
So in theory, you could buy it for a single Termagant.
I don't see why you couldn't, but they're really designed to go on. I think they have to go on monsters, actually.
Okay, all right.
So Enraged Reserves. This gives a single model that high fleet adaptation we said earlier. It counts as double the number of wounds remaining for the purposes of determining what its characteristics are.
Nice.
Which is pretty tasty. In addition, once per battle, it can use an Epic D stratagem for free.
Yeah, it's very cheap. 25 points. Normally you talk about 20, 25 points just for a command point, so that's very cheap.
Now, Dante has that ability, which is useful, but there's only like 2 Epic Deed stratagems he can use, so it's very niche. Are the Epic Deed stratagems that Tyranids can use worth the consideration for this?
Yes, to be honest. You've got a few really particularly powerful ones, one of which I will talk about a couple of them later on, but things like using extra psychic power, Death Throws, which is their version of Explodes. You can do it on... So this is a... Sorry, it's not that. This is Fight on Death, which is the same as Dante can use it for.
Yeah.
What else have you got? +2 to charges for lictors. That's an Epic Deed. Know all of the synaptic psychic powers.
Nice. Okay, so
very nice.
Or explode much bigger than you normally explode. Although you do still have to roll to see if you do, but it becomes on a 3 up. So sorry, 5 up, but you blow up mega. What else is in there? Something that infests you with parasites, which you'd know all about, Mark.
Do I?
Harsh.
Just being mean.
No. Please explain. I don't understand. I don't get the joke.
I was implying that you're infested with parasites.
Oh.
You don't feel like any tightness in your chest or anything. You haven't had a cough, have you?
Okay, so I thought that was pretty tasty.
Yeah, Mark,
for 25 points.
Mark's going to go see The Thing for the first time ever next month. Finally.
In like 5 or 6 weeks, yeah. From time of filming, at least. So 4 or 5 weeks from the time this goes live.
Yeah, so you can finally you can talk about The Thing in real depth.
Unless I bail on it and not bother because I think it's boring and I don't really want to go see it just to wind you guys up.
No.
You've paid for your ticket now, you've got to.
No, I haven't actually. I get that monthly Cine card thing, so booking the ticket cost me literally 0 pennies.
Okay.
I used to have that and I got rid of it because I just wasn't using it enough. So I paid for my ticket to go and see The Thing.
There you go.
I love it that much. Okay, so the next one.
I wouldn't disappoint you, don't worry.
Predator Instincts. 15 points. Model can perform heroic interventions. 6 inches.
That's really strong. It's really nice.
That's always powerful, yeah. Across the board.
Because that can be given to things that aren't characters, like Carnifexes and Screamer Killers and horrible things like that.
All right, okay.
That's pretty tasty. And the last one I've picked out is Synaptic Enhancement, which gives you Synapse.
Oh, cool.
Which doesn't sound like a big deal apart from extending your Synapse aura, but of course, like we said with the Zona Throws, giving them all a 4-up invuln means that you can, your Carnifexes and that, or Carnifex.
If you didn't have a imperative, you wouldn't get one, right? But you just become an extra radio mast in the chain, essentially.
Exactly, but also that means that you are affected by them.
And it also means that
For example, High Fleet Leviathans full transhuman on a Carnifex would only give you mini transhuman, but with Synaptic Enhancement would now give you full transhuman.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
You are now a synapse creature.
Yeah, it's good. 10 points for full transhuman. Who's not going to take that? Like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you've got something that doesn't have synapse and you're in that one, you're going to take.
I mean,
that.
You're giving that to a giant model, like an expensive character and thing as well. Like, if you got,
yeah,
I don't know. It's really it's amazing. 10 points, so cheap.
It's pretty good for that. So yeah, they're the adaptive physiologies. There are a few others, but these are 3 that I picked out as being particularly handy.
Yeah, very handy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We're going to crack on because we've got a lot of slides to go through here.
Cool.
Warlord traits. Same deal. I've picked out a few that I particularly liked. They've got quite a lot of Warlord traits. Some of them are quite good. There's none, though, that I went, oh, my God, my mind is blown. That's so good. I'm always going to take that, which is probably a good thing. It means that there's a few interesting choices. So ones I've picked out, Alien Cunning, give your Warlord OBSEC.
Cool.
And also give them fall back and perform actions.
Cool.
Or advance. That's pretty niche, but it could come in handy because there's a couple of these models that have got an action built in.
Come in useful, certainly, but if you're using your Warlord to do actions, then you've probably got other problems. Or
like I say, some of them have got their own built-in actions.
Okay.
Which can do some useful things. Really, you're buying this for OBSEC, and the other bit's just a bonus, which is not bad, is it? Putting OBSEC on a giant monster.
Yeah, it's Warlord trait.
Direct guidance. I thought this one was quite tasty. It allows you to put +1 to hit on 1 unit around the model. This basically gives you the Tech Marine upgrade, except that it works in melee and can be used on anything.
Cool.
That's nice.
Which is pretty handy because a lot of your stuff hits on 4s, but some of it hits on 3s, and going from 3s to 2s is a big jump.
Yeah, even
especially some of the more powerful shooty things.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's quite a tasty one. It's a small improvement, but a good one.
Yeah.
And the last one I've picked up, I quite like this. This is fight first, but also you get 3 full rerolls for hitting as well. So this is basically, for Blood Angels fans, Speed of the Primarch, but also you get Chapter Master rerolls on yourself every turn too.
Permanently.
Go
on, John. Say it.
This is an older codex. The code checks out, sir. Sorry, is that what I mean?
It's still newer than the Blood Angels Codex.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. But
okay.
It's just better.
It's better.
Just, this is good Speed of the Primarch.
I really hope that when they
the fight first things
redo the Blood Angels Codex, they don't just recycle it again.
This is basically a free interrupt, the fight first thing.
Yeah. Free interrupt and full rerolls on a friggin' Hive Tyrant.
Full rerolls
there you
is
go.
great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Rerolling hits, rerolling melee, rerolling shooting, just all of it. Yeah. Brilliant.
It's really powerful. Warlord traits. Relics. Same deal. I picked out a couple. This is a High Fleet Kraken, so you've got to be Kraken. This is their relic. -1 to hit, and you can't re-roll hits against the bearer.
Again, it's good on any sort of big monster.
Yeah. Hypomorpholic Biology. This is a Gorgon relic, and this is one of the reasons to take High Fleet Gorgon. This is they're like the poison ones, so they always wound on sort of like 4s or 2.
Okay.
But the thing is, I'm not the biggest fan of that because apart from your little Gribblies, your big ones are always wounding on. They've got like strength 14 and 1 anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
But +1 toughness isn't bad.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And double wounds again.
Yeah.
That means you can have toughness 9 Hive Tyrants, which when they've got that thing about losing all your synaptic imperatives when they die, putting them at toughness 9 is pretty handy.
Yeah. 1 TP, absolutely.
I've just jumped them all up, but it doesn't matter. Gestation Sack. Now, this one I think is deceptively powerful. Once at the start of your shooting phase, you can perform an action. And and you basically spawn some Ripper Swarms. So you spawn D3 +1 Ripper Swarms as a unit. It doesn't cost any reinforcement points. Now, Ripper Swarms are shit, to be honest. They're just rubbish. They're a fast attack choice now. They don't have OBSEC or anything else. But the ability to spawn a new unit that can then run off and sit on an objective. I mean, there are a swarm. They can't perform actions, but or many actions. But the fact that you can make a new unit that can go and sit on things that your opponent isn't totally sure is coming, I think is really powerful. You can think, well, I'll leave these here while I go and...
It doesn't take up your entire turn. It just takes up your shooting phase.
Just take up your shooting. So if you've got, I don't know, something with only melee weapons, who cares?
Interesting.
So I think there's a lot of tactical use for that, and I think it's deceptively powerful. And the last one, I thought about a chuck a weapon in it. A lot of the weapons aren't all that good, if I'm honest. But this one I thought was particularly good. This is a replacement for a heavy venom cannon, which is basically on your hive tyrants.
Yeah,
really.
Are they the only things that can carry it?
They've got it on a couple of other things, but then they can't take Warlord relics. So
okay, fair.
Make sure hive tyrant.
It turns your heavy venom cannon, which is a powerful weapon, but it's normally heavy venom cannon is usually heavy 3. Range 36, strength 9, AP -3, damage 4. It becomes assault 3, which is awesome. Strength 12, AP -5, and damage 5. So it's a huge bonus to that weapon.
And you could
going from strength 9 to strength 12.
And you could put it on that character
2 more points of AP.
That could reroll all the hits, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Strength, AP, 2 more points of AP, and an extra point of damage.
AP -5 is fucking scary into just everything.
Yeah. AP -3 is good. AP -5 is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, 5 damage a pop it is, yeah. I mean, that's more than like a friggin' volcano cannon at that point.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan normally of kind of weapon relics. A lot of them don't seem all that good, but this one is good.
Yeah, I mean, that dwarfs every weapon in the Space Marine Codex.
I've only ever seen one pistol relic that's actually worth a damn in this entire game.
And what one?
Really? Because I haven't seen any.
Yeah, there's an Eldar one that's really good. So you can put it in a build that shits out mortal wounds.
I was going to say, is that the Eldar one that just on every wound, on every hit, a 4-up is a mortal or something?
Yeah, something like that. You can stack it with other traits to make it do silly amounts of mortals in the shooting phase. It's great.
Yeah, Miles had that against me. It's pretty nasty.
Kronos bow, it's called. Anyway, we're distracted.
Yes. Cool,
right.
relic.
Okay, so that's the relics.
All right, so some really interesting comments. What's the ability then that the Hive Tyrant has that every time it makes either, I think it's a successful wound roll, it's
It's a melee relic, isn't it?
1 mortal wound. Like, what is that? Because you can have your Hive Tyrant there with like 6 attacks. You can make it that they reroll all their hits every time they wound you, and this is a Hive Tyrant, so like they're hitting on like strength 12. So into Marines, they're wounding on 2s. Every wound is immortal. So if they come into any of your characters, they're rolling...
Or does a mortal wound on top of its normal...
Yeah, so it's the Reaper of Obliterax is what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It's a model of bone sword or monstrous bone sword. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if that weapon successfully wounds a target, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to other damage.
And what is the damage from the weapon?
Each time an attack is made with this weapon is allocated to an enemy model. This model cannot use any rules to ignore the wounds it loses, which makes it pretty good for killing things like Abaddon and stuff like that. The thing is, though, so the biggest thing you can put it on is a monstrous bone sword.
Yes, which is
what Hive Tyrant gets.
Uh-huh.
Now that means that it's a strength +3 weapon, AP -4, damage 3. So you're hitting at strength 10, you've got AP -4, and you damage 3, which goes up to 4. One of them's immortal.
Yeah, and you can't feel no pain against it. So
and you can't feel no
if
pain
they
against
charge you with that other warlord trait, it's 6 attacks, give or take, on a Hive Tyrant, right? 6 or 5?
5.
5 attacks, re-rolling everything, then wounding on 2s. Every 2+ is a mortal wound, and every failed save at -4 is 3 damage. This guy literally can kill anything that Marine players have every single turn.
Yeah, but not being funny, he's also 240 odd point model. He probably should kill any kind of Marine character that's half his points.
Well, you say half. I mean, we've got
So-
Chapter Masters and stuff that are 160
Right,
points.
if you're putting Chapter Master Dante on there, he's 160 points. So for a model that's 100 points more can kill him in melee. Yeah.
A combo that has been used against me for this is auto advance, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches, whatever it is. Advance and charge. There's some psychic powers involved in here as well.
Yeah, Catalyst.
Kill a bunch of
I think, no, not
stuff.
Catalyst.
It
Onslaught.
may well be. Yeah, maybe that as well. Kill a bunch of stuff in melee. Wipe the unit that you charge because you're really careful to charge them, and you use this Reaper of Obliterax to shoot out mortal wounds and kill a whole bunch of stuff when you do it. And then use a power that lets you take a normal move, assuming you end your fight phase out of engagement range of any other models. So he just flies forward 20 plus inches, kills some shit, flies 14 inches back away again, and you can't touch him.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And I
bloody hate that.
I totally agree with him being able to do a lot of damage, Tony. I just think that, like, it's in a way, this is why people are getting upset about squats. It's unavoidable damage, right? Like, there's nothing you can do. If you tell me that, like, you're a Space Marine character...
Uninteractable is the phrase.
Yeah, uninteractable is maybe a better word, where it's just like, right, you're just going to have, like, let's say your saves are hot. You have to make 5 saves, and you pass 3 of them, so only fail 2 saves. So you're instantly going to take 10 wounds, so, like, your 5 mortals plus the 2 threes, or 11 wounds, sorry, and you can't do anything. No feel no pains, nothing. You're just going to take 11 wounds, and then he's going to, like Mark said, he's going to jump back 14 inches out of range of everything in your army. Next turn, he's going to jump forward. He's going to do it again. Next turn, he's going to do it again.
I mean,
like, where's
there are
the
things
game?
I could have done about that, and those things are, you know about the combo, and you know about the possibility it can happen, and you screen. That's really all you can do about it. Really.
I'm trying to find a way that they can move after their...
Onslaught is the name of the ability.
Onslaught lets you advance and charge.
It's a stratagem, I'm fairly sure.
I'm just looking for it because I think I missed that strat.
Are you sure it's...
No, I'm
because,
not sure.
It's not one of the psychic
reasonably-
powers. I've just read them.
It's a strat. It's 100% a strat.
It's one of those. The trampling. No, that doesn't do it. No, that won't do it.
I'll pull up Wikipedia.
I'm just trying to find it. I'm sure. I'm not saying it can't do it. I'm just saying I can't find it. Here we go. Overrun.
That's it.
Use this stratagem at the end of your fight phase. Select one hive tendril unit from your army that made a charge move this turn. If there are no enemy models within engagement range of that unit, models in that unit can make a normal move instead of making a consolidation.
Yes.
So if you've got
something
that can move 16 inches, which is a winged hive tyrant, then yeah, he can jump forward, and if he wipes the unit that he charges, he can then move back. If he doesn't wipe the unit that he charges, he can't. For 1 CP for that. To get the advance and charge before, you had to pay another CP.
Yep.
And get a psychic power off on him.
Yep.
So to do that, it's going to cost you 2 CPs, a psychic power, and you have to kill the thing you did it to. Otherwise, you aren't tied up and you can't anymore. It's powerful, but I think it's a bit risky with your hive tyrant that if you lose, you're in real big troubles.
I don't think it's risky, but sure, we can disagree. We can agree to disagree on that.
There is a risk that it will fail, but that risk seemed to be fairly minimal with the buffs. But the army was specifically built for this combo, so it minimised the risk in the cast risks, the CP it started with, the units that were being targeted for being wiped on the charge and all that stuff. So it's just horrible.
I was going to say, if you're going into, let's say, any army that their characters are typically less than 7 wounds, then you're basically looking at, on your 5 dice, even if you roll...
So let's say you hit with all of them.
Yeah.
You're wounding on
2s.
Probably 2s, unless they're Space Marines and transhuman, which they can. So
only if they're Primaris.
If they're Primaris. But let's say that you're doing it to firstborn Space Marine, so they can't transhuman.
Like,
or is already used as
Vanguard, for example.
Then he's probably gonna kill the 5 men if it's a 5-man squad.
Yeah, like if you fail a couple of saves, you're losing the whole squad.
No, if you fail a couple of saves, you won't lose the whole squad.
Okay, yeah, you have one guy left with 1 wound. All right, I mean, he's got a gun, right? He can shoot someone else in his army.
No, he doesn't.
Can shoot out one of the models
Oh,
first.
yeah, he's got other guns in the thing, but the winged Hydra tyrant can only have a gun or a sword.
Okay. All right. So yeah, but I mean, still,
Okay.
if you go into characters 1-on-1, you'll kill them. You'll be able to fall back 100%.
So yeah, if you don't screen your character, and he's going to come in, he's probably going to kill it.
I mean, you say you don't screen them. I mean, you just said he can advance and charge, and his base move is 16 inches. It's pretty hard to screen.
He's still got to have room to fit his base
And
between
he's got
wherever
a
he's
huge
going
base.
to charge the
The
thing.
base is like that big.
So when I say screen, is you surround him.
You just make sure that there's an inch or so, or a couple of inches around your character. You've got another unit. Then he can't do that.
Okay, I find that very difficult to even consider.
What? To screen out your base that's like 5 inches across?
All around the character, maybe. Depends on what you brought.
Maybe.
You just need
But
to be prepared
if you
to...
know that they've got that, then
Screening is
bubble wrap
definitely
your
a
characters
tactical
little
tool.
bit. Yeah, John's not good at screening though. Remember that game against Grey Knights?
Neither am I.
I'm getting better.
No, to be honest, I never remember to do it. And then I'm like, oh, you killed my stuff. And everyone's looking at me like, well, you keep telling everybody to start screening their stuff, and then you never screen anything.
Yeah, that's about right. Anyway, we've written on a little bit on that one.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah, anyway,
So, Nuke of Obliterax, Bastard Relic.
I was going to say, yeah. Can
I
we
don't
just...
think it's that good.
It is fucking good. Have you played it? I'll tell you, my game against it was
One mortal
fucking
wound
horrible.
on a wound roll extra.
Yeah, but
I
that's
just don't think it's
fine,
worth
but
your
you
relic
can't
slot.
fucking die any of them. It's just like
It's not one mortal wound on a wound roll.
Mortal
It's
wounds
one
every
extra
time he
mortal wound
fights.
on every successful wound
Yeah,
roll.
it's fucking 5 mortal. Every time he charges you, it's 5 mortal. Just expect 5 mortal. When I played it, it was 5 mortal wounds like every time.
John, he's winding you up.
Yeah, no, I'm winding myself up. Click the next slide button because I'm trying to click it desperately on my screen.
Are we
but
going to run out of call time again?
No, hopefully
Yeah,
not.
probably. Yeah.
Trust me, if you play against it, you'll want to walk away from the table after he's charged your first.
Psychic powers.
You'll be like, what?
Psychic powers. That's not a psychic beastie.
It's not, which I thought was ironic.
This flying thing is the one on the right here. This.
No, that's a spore mine. I think.
That's
It's
like a
it's one of the
floating
big spore
bomb.
mines.
All right. Okay.
They do the little spore mines, and they got the big spore mine. Okay, so ones that I've picked out that I think are quite powerful.
Yeah, give him a 5 up.
Catalyst.
Feel no pain to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always
Give a 5 up, feel no pain to
core
anything.
insanely
It's not
useful
Titanic.
power. Yeah. Good.
Always handy. Hive Nexus, and this is the Leviathan special power. It's
Never
got
seen
quite
this
a
used.
high. It's got quite a high warp charge at warp charge 7,
What's it?
but select one synaptic imperative ability of a friendly Leviathan synapse model that is also within synaptic link range, which it will be, until the start of your next turn. That unit benefits from this synapse imperative as well as the other one that is currently going.
Cool.
Nice.
This means that you can
Just lay it
you
up the
can
buff.
stack 2 synaptic imperatives on one thing,
Yeah, that's good. Really good.
which could be really powerful. It's like, I want an invuln and I want to do more damage.
So how does that interact with each synaptic imperative can only be used once?
Good
question.
I don't think they can do it, but I would have to check the FAQ on that one.
Okay.
There is a way of doing one that's already been used, but I think it's a strat.
Okay. All right. So
Moving on then, Onslaught. That's the one we just talked about. This is quite powerful. Warp charge 6, so it's fairly easy to get off. There's a lot of ways that they can add to their psychic tests. No penalties for firing assault weapons if you've advanced. You don't suffer penalties to hit for firing heavy weapons and moving, and you can advance and charge.
which is obviously powerful,
Which is
assuming
obviously
there's
really
a way
powerful.
to get a auto advance a certain long distance, which
Well,
There
there
is
is the
somewhere.
strat which does let you. This bounding advance is the one you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
1 CP or 2 if you want 15 or more models. But to be honest, if you're doing that, you don't need to use this because bounding advance, you just move 6 inches for your advance, and you can advance and charge.
okay, fair enough.
This lets you do it to 2 units.
Okay.
There you go. Ouch.
Yeah.
Nippy little
Which is pretty
bastards.
tasty. And then the last one I've picked out here is a Kronos psychic power. which I rather liked. Warp charge of 7. Until the end of your next psychic phase, each time modeling that unit makes a range attack, add 1 to the strength of it.
Could just be.
Ouch.
Yeah, could be the difference between.
Yeah, especially
Which is
for
really
mass
useful.
firepower. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that like strength 8, and going up to strength 9 is really handy for shooting big stuff.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Cool.
So I thought that was a particularly useful psychic power. There's a few others, but these are 4 that I picked out as being particularly tasty. So here are some of my favourite data sheets and combos.
All right. Okay.
And a GIF.
They mostly come at night.
So we're talking about Hive Tyrants. These are your 3 varieties of Hive Tyrant. They are very powerful, but like we've said, there is a caveat to them. They are powerful, but you're adding a point of weakness and vulnerability to your army by bringing one. They're all good, though.
And despite the fact that they have lots of wounds and they're monsters, you can still character block them with Hive Guard.
Hive Guard can, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't shoot
that
them.
is their thing, though.
You
That's why
can't
they're
shoot
called
them
the
or
Hive
target
Guard.
them, despite the fact they're huge and expensive and really buffing. Yeah.
But Hive Guard don't do anything else apart from that, and they're relatively expensive. They're just big, expensive meat shields to stick around your very expensive Hive Tyrant. If you're running one at the moment, they're pretty good investment because, like I say, it's so important that they stay alive.
Okay.
And if you're playing against them and they're not running Hive Guard, kill their Hive Tyrant.
Yeah, very true.
And watch their army start to fall apart. So you've got 3 different varieties. You've got the standard one, which can take 2 sets of weapons. Your winged one, which can fly and only take 1 set of weapons. It's also slightly weaker. It's only toughness 7 compared to toughness 8 for the standard model.
Yeah.
So it's got less guns, lower toughness, but can deep strike and fly. 16-inch move.
16-inch fly is
massive.
insanely good. Yeah.
It's really powerful. And then lastly, you've got the Swarm Lord, which is sort of a special character. You can't adjust him in any way, but he's kind of like, if you want to go full melee. Now, your normal Hive Tyrant, you can go full melee, full shooty, or hybrid. And they've got a couple of decent weapons. The Heavy Venom Cannon, I think, is particularly good. The Monstrous Bone Sword is pretty tasty.
Swarm Lord can't be that hard. I mean, Dante killed him in the fluff, right?
He
So
did.
clearly,
I do like the Swarm Lord. He is very expensive at 240 points. But, he's strength 8, so he gets an extra point of strength.
He survived a round of combat against him.
these come with a built-in invul as well, if I recall.
4 up.
Yeah, 4 up.
Yeah.
So he's a bit of a different one. He doesn't hit quite as hard physically, so he's only punching you at strength 9. But he's got 9 attacks instead of 5. They're still damage 3, AP -4, so they're which is pretty nice. And like I say, he's got an extra point of strength in there as well. He's also got this blade parry ability. So the first time you try and melee him, the first failed save ignores.
Which is exceptionally powerful.
Dante got lucky here.
Yeah.
His Infernal Pistol sneaked through and did like 8 damage.
Yeah,
definitely.
clearly that's what it was.
Because I'm sure in the book he did actually shoot his Infernal Pistol, maybe twice.
He did shoot it in the face with Inferno Pistol. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're all nasty. The flying one,
They're all pretty
the flying
nasty.
one gets the thing of nightmares.
I've been having a look, and I'm starting to see more and more NID lists that aren't running these guys.
Okay.
Because there's such a point of vulnerability, and everyone's starting to know kill the Hive Tyrant and bubble wrap your stuff if they're using a winged one, so it can't jump in and kill it.
Maybe I'll spend more time reading this this new Deathwatch Codex I've got here and its ability to target Xenos models and fuck them up. That'd be interesting.
I've been playing a lot of Deathwatch lately against Deathwatch, and they are a lot of fun. Yeah,
They just
one of
seem
my
really
friends has
cool.
got a nice Deathwatch army, and he plays them quite a lot.
All right. Maybe I'll hit you up with some advice on how to make sense of this crazy supplement.
They're just fun. It's a bonkers supplement.
Mm.
Anyway, we're starting to see a few less winged Hive Tyrants and normal Hive Tyrants at the moment because of that vulnerability. And people think, well, he's quite expensive. He can fuck up the rest of my army if I lose him. And when you've got things like Votan just popped up with a gun that can kill him in a shot, and then the whole rest of the army falls apart, that's a problem. Or Tau railguns if they get a shot off at it.
There won't be that much of a problem for
my Hive Guard.
for the Votan, though, because the other player will have just gone home once he realises that you put Votan list.
I don't know about that. After this has come out, I should actually have the book, and I will do a quick video having a look and my take on them, or my hot take on it.
I haven't had a dispatch notice yet, but they are still planning to dispatch it tomorrow for you, Tony. So you should still get it on release day. I think I got in early enough to get you a copy,
which will be wicked. So I'll do some stuff on it. But anyway, yeah. So we've seen a few less of them at the moment, but they are still very powerful.
Well,
cool. What's next?
Next thing to look at is the Tyranid.
I'm not hearing you guys. Period. You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can definitely hear you.
Hello.
What have you done, Tony? Did you like kick some?
You're back.
I've upset him, haven't I?
Oh yeah, we were never gone.
We've never gone, mate. We've been sitting there.
No, I get that. Apparently, I couldn't hear you. You were still coming through in OBS. And just cut out my headphones. My computer these last few days has been playing up. All right, I'll have to edit that out. No problem.
Is this a brand new computer or relatively new computer?
It is, yeah.
Right, so the first thing then that I want to talk about here are Tyranid Warriors. Now, they've had a bit of a points bump. They're 30 points a model now, but they are troops. They are 30 points. They've got toughness 5, strength 5, 3 wounds apiece. They're pretty good, especially when for 15 points, irrespective of how big the unit is. So you can take a nice big unit of 9 if you want.
All right.
You can give them all movement 7 and an extra point of strength.
All right, cool.
Do you have an advance?
And for no, but remember, they are synaptic creatures, so you can give them all an invuln if you want.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they can get one through that imperative.
Synaptic imperative, and also if you're Leviathan, you can give them all permanent transhuman. But yeah, 30 points a model, permanent transhuman, and an invuln for a turn. But also, you can swap out their. Now they've got a bone sword and lash whip, which means that they get they're a little bit better in combat. But I really like dual bone swords because strength +2 with adrenal glands would mean that you are punching things at strength 8, AP -2, damage 2.
Nice.
With 4 attacks a model. Yeah.
With 4 attacks a model for 30 points. And that does not preclude you from bringing a ranged weapon.
Right, okay.
The ranged weapons are a bit meh. They're all right.
They've each got 4 arms and 2 legs.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ranged weapons aren't great, but for every couple of models you can take a venom cannon, which is not bad. It's a strength 8 gun. So that's not bad. But they're just massively undercosted. They are super cheap.
All right.
The next thing I've put up here are gargoyles. Now, there's not a lot to talk about with gargoyles. They've got the same shit gun. They're just flying termagants.
Yeah.
But they're only 8 points a model, and they've got obsec.
And you can have loads of them. Yeah.
And they can fly.
So 160 points for 20 models.
That can fly onto an objective. They're super, super fast.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Blast will tear them to bits, but still.
They're super cheap, and you can bring shitloads of them and just fly them around.
I suppose it's fair, because if you want to bring shitloads of them, you're going to have to paint them.
Yeah.
Unless you pay somebody else to paint them for you. But still, that's also balling.
I think they're really powerful. I don't know if we'll see the kind of like gargoyle air force that some people have talked about, because they are only 8 points, but they don't do a lot for 8 points. Their guns are okay. Really, it's just the fact that you're going to fly an obsec.
You bring a unit or you bring a blob and just leave it at that, really, wouldn't you?
Flying obsec is pretty handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last thing that I've picked up on here is the Harpy. Now, we have seen a lot of these.
Have we?
We have. The Harpy is 175-point flying model, which can charge flyers, which is very nice. And it's not bad in combat. But it's got a couple of really nice guns that it can pick from, and it's got 2 of them. Heavy venom cannons, strength 9, AP -3, damage 4. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Even the Stranglethorn cannon, I think, is not bad. It's also got the ability to do mortal wounds on things that it flies over, and it's not a bad one. Some of these mortal wounds on things it flies over abilities are a bit shit. Up to a maximum of, when you fly over something, roll a d6 for every thing, and any 4-ups does a mortal wound.
Cool.
Up to a maximum of 10.
Not bad.
But also you can use to drop spore mines. Now, spore mines are shocking. They are rubbish. Don't bring them. But if you've got something like a harpy that can drop them for free, then they can be quite nice, because you can dump a load of them in an area that you don't want people going. So if you happen to be flying over an objective, drop a load on the objective. It can't hold the objective.
Deceptive. They always get really annoying and in the way, and just...
Yeah. They don't do a lot of damage, but either you shoot them and then you've wasted your shooting on something that is largely worthless.
Yeah.
Or you walk into them and take the mortal wounds. That can be...
How balanced do you think the Harpy is for 175 points compared to Marine Flyers?
Marine Flyers are all shit, but
it basically,
this
you
one
roll
seems a
up
pretty good
to
flyer.
10 d6s, so average 5 mortal wounds, and then on top of your 5 mortal wounds you just get 6 strength 9 -3 4 damage. Cool. That seems fine. Nice,
a couple hundred points.
175 points. I was actually surprised when I played against this that the guy...
It's the same number of points as a Stormhawk Interceptor.
These went up in points. I think they were previously like 155.
Yeah, I think
they
so.
Put them up.
Well, I can tell you actually, because I've got the book here, haven't I? So they're currently 175. They were, when they came out, Flyers, 160.
Yeah, I mean, they were obnoxious. I mean, they're sort of obnoxious at 175.
And worse than that, the heavy venom cannon also only used to be 5 points.
Was it now 10?
So it used to cost 170 points for
the Harpy with 2 venom cannons,
and now it's 205.
Okay,
which is slightly more balanced, but they're still very good.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't hate them as much at 205, but yeah, before they were just stupid good.
170 points was just ridiculous.
Clearly, you could invest in one of these Space Marine Stalker anti-aircraft tanks so that you'd be able to shoot these things down.
Or a Stormhawk Interceptor, then it can intercept the Harpy.
True.
And then the Harpy will kill it because it's got melee ability, and the Stormhawk doesn't. Okay, let's keep going then. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit more complex. So I've said the kind of normal data sheets that I like. Here's some fun ones. So the first one is the Tervigon. Now, the Tervigon is expensive.
This is the birthing thing, isn't it?
This is the birthing one. This is the brood mum to Termagant. So Termagant, 7 points each. You'd always pay an extra point to have one that can fly. Flesh borers aren't bad. Strength 5, AP -1, damage 1, but they're only 8 in each range. Assault's quite nice though. And they're okay. The Tervigon, it's a lot of points, 215, but it does degrade. It's all right. You can have crushing claws. I quite like them. Damage D3 +3 in melee, or scything talons. It's a good melee monster, but you're not taking it for that. You're taking it for some special rules. The first one of them is this. So in your command phase, you can select a unit of Termagants and give it +1 to hit.
For shooting. Yeah,
for
very
shooting.
nice.
Especially if you've got a big unit of 30 Termagants.
Oh, God, they go up to 30. Okay, all right.
This one, if it's within an inch of a unit of 15 or more models, you can't shoot it. It gets lookout, sir.
Great. Good.
And then this one. Select one a friendly unit each turn and restore 2d6 of them.
Very nice.
And this is mega powerful, once per battle, just vomit out another 10. Whole unit of 10, doesn't cost you anything. Again, they're not very good, but a unit of 10 OBSEC troops that you can just
Still
pop up.
73 points of OBSEC, yeah.
You can just pop it up and let it sit on an objective somewhere, or run off and do an action, or whatever.
Yeah, or daisy chain it.
And this is in the command phase as well. So it's not an action that replaces anything.
No, it just happens. Okay. Yeah.
It just happens. That's powerful. There's also a strat that lets you bring some of these back as well.
At what point of the command phase do you score holding objectives?
Depends on the objective.
So your average mission, it's hold 1, hold 2, hold more.
Usually it's at the start, so you can't use it for that. But say you've got an action that you've got to do in the shooting phase, you can spawn it in the command phase. They can run off in the movement phase and do the action in the shooting phase.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
I thought that's quite powerful.
It is a powerful ability, yeah.
We're not seeing a lot of these, but I've seen a couple of these in competitive lists, and I think they could be quite good going with that down that route.
One on the table.
They used to be utter shit. I don't think a lot of people have got them because of that.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen lists that run multiple Tervagants, right? Because each one can spawn 10.
Because each one can do this, so you can bring a couple and a ginormous load of Termagants around them.
And then you can spawn 3 more squads, yeah. I mean, you're adding 200 more
And
points.
if you're in Hive Fleet, the one that makes things shooting even better, they can all have better range and better AP.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, you could give the Tervigon that psychic power, because it is a psyker, which gives them +1 strength on their shooting, so they can all be strength 6, AP -2, damage 1,
11 inches.
hitting on 3s, Termagants.
All right, this just in, reading through the Nephilim missions on the app, they all score primary objectives at the end of each player's command phase.
Oh, well, okay.
There you go. So you can spawn them just to score the objective.
Well,
and the opponent will have not had a chance to do anything about it.
No.
Yeah.
I think that these are a bit underrated and are a lot more powerful than people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, bearing that in mind, absolutely.
Okay, so
if you see a Tervigon, kill it.
Things that get you, well, you can't if it's got any Termagants around it. You're not allowed to shoot it. Things are getting more complicated with the Neurothrope. Now, I do like these. These are something that I do think are a great choice for your HQ. But on the face of it, they're not that exciting. It's got 3 up invuln, which is quite nice, but they're 100 points.
Oh, these bastards.
It's a psycho. It's a big brain bug. It's got 6 wounds, toughness 5. It's all right. It doesn't do a lot in melee or hasn't got any guns, so it doesn't shoot anything either. But it is a psyker, and it can cast and deny 2 psychic powers, which is pretty good. But its abilities are where it becomes interesting. So the first one, pick a unit. It could be itself, but pick a unit that is a psyker, and it can now roll an extra d6 and discard one of them for its psychic tests. Most of your Synapse creatures are psychers. Not all of them are good ones, but most of them are. And some of the powers are very good. And you really want them to go off. Spirit Leech. Choose a Neurothrope or Zonothrope and give it a wound back. It's all right.
Hang on, that's a flat ability that it has.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay any upgrades for any of that.
In your psychic phase, each time an enemy unit within 18 inches of a mortal of this
and the warp siphon.
Mortal wound. Yeah, the warp siphon is just give it to them.
Fucking hell.
But yeah, Spirit Leech, every time you do a mortal wound, basically every time you mortal wound somebody, you heal yourself or one of your zone throws.
Yep.
Up to 3 for that model.
Yep.
Pretty tasty. And then its Synaptic Imperative, I think, is quite nice as well. When you activate it, you get to add 1 to your psychic tests. Remember, this is for your whole army if it's active. Yep. Also, you get to add 1 for your Deny the Witch.
Yep.
Sorry, Thousand Suns. We've got lots more psychers, and you ain't getting any powers off.
The shadow in the warp and everything. Yeah.
Yep. And then also, you give everybody a 5-up, feel no pain against mortals.
Ouch.
That's powerful. All for 100 points.
Yeah, this is why Tyranids were dominating the meta for 6 months.
I've seen one of these in every single Tyranid list I've ever seen on the table.
I really like these. I think these are one of your best, if not the best, HQ choice at the moment. But let's carry on with the Zona Throw. Now, the Zona Throw is an elite's choice. It comes in a squad of 3 to 6, and it's got 4-up invuln. Now, what is powerful about these things is if you've got a Neurothrope, they don't take up an elite slot.
Okay.
You can run them in a giant unit, and each time this unit attempts to manifest Smite or a Witchfire, add 1 to its psychic test for each model in the unit. So the bare minimum unit of 3 adds 3 to its psychic test.
You're probably
and if
getting
you've got a
+1 as well
Neurothrope,
from thingy. Yeah.
And if you've got a Neurothrope, you can give them an extra D6 to do it with.
And discard the lowest.
Yeah. And add 1 to the number of mortal wounds suffered by the enemy for each unit model in the unit.
So your chances of rolling a super smite are enormous. And
you can quite easily get it so that you're rolling 3d6 discarding the lowest, and you super smite on a 5-up.
And then you add 3
and
more
do an
wounds.
extra mortal wound, 3 mortal wounds.
Yeah. And we haven't even talked about what's the big beast that dishes the mortal wounds when you without line of sight?
This one.
The Malscepter, yay! This one, yes.
The Malscepter. I thought this is psychic time. This is what we're going at here.
Okay.
So the Malscepter. Now I really like these guys. These are powerful. They are a lot of points, 220, but they're pretty good in combat. They've got their scything talons, which give them extra attacks or a strike profile for 2d3 damage. They're tough at toughness 8. They've got 15 wounds and a 4-up invuln. That's not bad.
Yeah,
4-up. That's not bad. This is a combat unit.
And in the book in front of you, there were like 170 points.
I don't know. I haven't looked. I've just been basing this on what they currently are. I've not been looking at what they used to be, because they're not that anymore.
Cast 2 to 1. Yeah.
Cast 2 to 1. It's pretty good in combat. Now, this is where it gets spicy. So its ability is Encephalophic Diffusion. It's got an action it can cast. Now, if it does this action, until the start of your next psychic phase, the psychic gains the following ability: Diffusion Field. While a friendly high fleet unit is within 6 inches of the psychic, each time a range attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the strength of that attack. That's a very powerful ability, especially when you have the ability to do psychic actions and cast spells. With its psychic imperative.
Right.
So its synaptic imperative means that it can make range attacks without failing its action. It can make an action even if it's advanced or fell back. And doing a psychic action does not prevent it from manifesting psychic powers, which means you can use the psychic action and still manifest powers if you want.
But that won't stack, obviously, with the Neurothrope imperative. So,
no. It's pretty handy if you particularly want to get that -1 strength. But that's not really why you're bringing it. You're bringing it for the psychic overload. Each time this model successfully manifests a psychic power or completes a psychic action, if the result of the psychic test was 7 or more, after resolving that psychic power, the closest enemy unit within 12 suffers the number of mortal wounds shown in the table below. If it has 8+ wounds, they suffer 3 mortal wounds every time it casts a psychic power.
Note, it doesn't say anything about visible, so this shit's hitting you through walls or whatever.
Whatever it is. You can also spend 1 CP to cast a bonus psychic power. So if you like, you can throw out 9 mortal wounds to the nearest unit.
If that unit's got 8 wounds remaining each time you cast. Because that number of wounds might go down. But still.
It could, but it's got 15 and toughness 8 and a 4-up invuln.
Oh, it's its remaining wounds. Oh, sorry, I misread that. I thought that was the target's remaining wounds.
No, it's own ones. So basically, as long as it's on top profile, because it does profile. I haven't put all the profiles on here, but it is one that will profile. You can see that.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, as long as it's got 8 or more, that will
that won't go down.
Shit out 9 mortal wounds a turn, potentially.
I'm telling you, the game that I beat this Tyranid list in, that had the Malscepter, that had the Neurothrope, that had like 3 Zonothropes, had the Winged Hive Tyrant. I mean, like, I don't know how I beat it, honestly. Like, he could do like 40 mortal wounds a turn. Like, there's a bottom line. And I mean, as a Space Marine army, you basically have 80 wounds. So you could be tabled by turn 2 against this.
All right, so realistically, how did you beat it, John?
I Forlorn Furied into the Malceptor first and killed him in turn 1 with my Death Company. I put every buff I could on them because I knew how dangerous he was.
Before the enemy damage cast any or use its things.
Yeah, it was touch and go, like the Malceptor, because he was Leviathan, so the Malceptor literally would have, like, it was like, one...
Yeah, 4-up Invan and Transhuman.
It was like one more save and the Malceptor would have been alive. So the Death Company valiantly sacrificed themselves, and then Mephiston went flying into the midst of all his Psychers, and like Tony said, his Psychers don't do so well on melee, so Mephiston carved them up. But like,
you can get into melee with them, you can rip them apart. They've got 4 wounds each. All right, they've got an Invan, but they're not that tough. They've not got that many wounds. They've got no real ability to fight back.
Oh yeah, and then Mephiston actually denied his psychic interrogation twice. So Mephiston was like my MVP in the Death Company, killed this. But yeah, I mean, with like one different role, that game goes completely differently, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's a really powerful unit. So yeah, that's it. That's all the sort of particular data sheets that I've pulled out. But I have written a couple of sample lists. Now, these are our normal getting started lists, although I went a bit more themed than I normally do. So I've not bothered costing these up or anything like that. I've just gone with 3 different lists, styles of lists that you could build.
It should be, I appreciate the aliens references, but there should also be Starship Troopers references in this as well.
Sure. First list. Hive Fleet Kronos. That's the shooty one.
Yep.
I've got a Tervigon as my warlord. I've got a Zona Throw to back it up. And then, so this is a battalion. Then I've got 3 units of 15 Termagants.
Yep.
And then I've got a unit of 5 Tyranid warriors, all with dual bone swords, one of which has got a venom cannon.
So you got 2 big ass beasties and a horde of little beasties and a couple of things in the middle.
Yeah, and then I've got an Exocrine to give you a big old shooting. I didn't mention the data sheet for it because I don't think it's outrageously powerful, but it is good. An Exocrine. If I just
it's got that the D3 plus 6 number of shots on strength 9 minus 4.
It's
3 damage,
pretty good.
Right?
So it's D3 plus 6 shots, strength 8, damage 3, AP minus 4 blast.
Yeah, it's
an artillery piece basically. Which, given Kronos, the fact that it's only got 36 inch range goes up to 40, and if you're within 20, it's AP minus 5.
Yeah, I found it just killed my Eradicators without, same game. My Eradicators didn't stand a chance.
It's absolutely brilliant for killing heavy infantry.
Yeah, brilliant against Grabbit units.
Because it's only strength 8, it does struggle against some of the really hard targets, so toughness 8 stuff. But there is, of course, the psychic power to give it +1 strength.
Yeah.
All right, very nice.
So that was my first one. So that's kind of just it's a ginormous horde of Termagants, all buffed up by the Tervigon. You can vomit out more of them. Your shooting's actually quite powerful because there's so much of it. It's all strength 5. It will be AP minus 2 probably at a decent range, and there's just lots of them, and they're going to keep bringing them back.
Okay.
So this is all about a big horde, and then you've got the Tyranid warriors in there to give it a little bit of punch, and the Exocrine to shoot anything else. So it's 1,000 points. It's pretty shooty, and it's my take on kind of a shooty Tyranid list at the moment.
Okay.
All right. Very nice.
I thought that was pretty fun. The second one,
I'd be scared to buy that because that's a lot of painting termagants.
That's a lot of painting. Yeah, that's 45 termagants.
Yeah. See you next year.
So this is the list that I've named for Scottish Summer. I've gone with Hive Fleet Gorgon for this one. I've gone with a Winged Hive Tyrant. I've given him adrenal glands for that +1 strength. I've got 3 big units of gargoyles in this one. I've got a unit of 20 and 2 units of 15. I've brought Death Leaper, which is a fancy lictor. He's pretty good. He'll assassinate one thing and then he will die. And then I've brought a Harpy. So everything in the army can fly except for the Death Leaper that you can't see because it's invisible.
Okay. Cool.
So why Scottish Summer?
Because there's loads of mosquitoes buzzing about.
Okay, I get you. Nice. Makes sense. It's very moist up in Scotland in summer.
And there's a lot of mosquitoes. And in this case, there's like 50 of them.
Could be an Australian one.
Yeah. But 50 gargoyles. I just thought we'd just turn up and just everything moves so quickly and just offsets the entire map while your Hive Tyrant and Harpy kill everything.
Yeah.
And because you've not got any synaptic imperatives, you don't really care if the Winged Hive Tyrant dies because you don't lose anything.
You can tell these are written by somebody who loves to paint things, can't you, really?
Well, this is my... Let me go to the third list. Now, this is my favourite list.
All right.
There's the brain bug.
Yeah, that's the Starship Troopers, finally. There we go.
So, this is a patrol. And it is led by my only HQ, which is a Neurothrope.
Mm-hmm.
I've given it Adaptive Biology as a Warlord trait because that gives it a 5-up Feel No Pain, which goes nicely with its 3-up Invuln save, and because it's High Fleet Leviathan, it's 4-up Transhuman.
Stupid.
So it's 3-up Invuln, 4-up Transhuman, and a 5-up Feel No Pain.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got 3 units of 3 warriors. Each one has got a Venom Cannon in it to give it a little bit of shooting and a lot of melee punch. And then I've gone with a Maleceptor with lots of mortal wound output because I've just given it the mortal wound spells, and 2 units of Zona Throws, 1 unit of 4, 1 unit of 3 with more blowing you up in psychic power. So this is just going to float about and melt you with their minds.
Great.
You can't target it because the warriors are bodyguards, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, they're not, but everything in this army also is Synapse.
Okay.
So everything's got a 4-up Transhuman permanently.
So what? There is a version of warriors that is bodyguards. What are they called? They're just...
that's the Tyrant Guard, but they've got a slightly different rule. They're just basically to guard the Hive Tyrant.
Okay.
There's Tyrant Guard and there's Hive Guard, and I never remember what the difference is.
One of them's the shooty thing, and one of them's just a pure bodyguardy thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought this would be a laugh, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did think about running a big unit of 6 Zone Threats, but to be honest, I want to spread the mortal wounds out a little bit because otherwise you'd have one unit that annihilated the thing, but then the rest of the army would come and kill you.
If you want to make it even more funny, just consolidate the Tyranid warriors into 1 unit of 9.
You could. But again, I thought 3 units of 3 spread out a little bit. Remember, they're your troops as well, so they can sit and hold objectives.
That's true.
Okay, cool.
And they've all got guns, and they're not bad at shooting. And they're very good at stabbing.
Very nice.
So yeah, that was the 3 lists I put together for this. I've not worried too much about getting started stuff. There is a getting started with Tyranids box. It's got a Hive Tyrant and a shit ton of Termagants.
So
it's a really weird box. It's a useful stuff, but it's a weird box. They're not too expensive to collect because a lot of the kits are quite old, and a lot of their monsters are quite expensive in points. But there's no sort of like easy way of doing it because they've got no real getting started boxes that fits into anything. I mean, I can't see anybody running the shit ton of Termagants and a Hive Tyrant build because it doesn't really fit, if that makes sense. They just don't synergize at all.
Okay.
I think I like this list the most out of the 3 you built.
So don't get me wrong, none of these 3 are competitive lists. This third one is probably relatively competitive for a 1,000-point game, but the last 2, this one is just daft. I want to turn up with an army consisting entirely of flyers, except for that dude who's invisible and in a bush.
Definitely daft.
This one, I actually think this one could be quite powerful.
Yeah, I don't mind this one either. I think 1 or 3 is.
I think these are the 2 more. This one is a bit more of an all-rounder list. It's got a little bit of melee punch with the Tervigon. It's got a lot of shooting. It's got a bit of psychic. It's just a more balanced kind of all-rounder list. This is kind of your standard getting started list.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just fucking stupid. And that one won't win you any friends.
Yeah, that's very true. That amount of mortal wounds in a 1,000-point game is going to be brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Unless you get first turn and you've got this kind of like massive alpha strike. But remember, if you do get first turn, then they're going to activate everything in the army's got an invuln.
That list is not. Yeah, I mean this list I think is quite competitive, just because. I mean, how many times can you smite 8 times?
The Zone Throws can only do it once per unit.
Oh, they can only smite once per unit.
But it's a bigger smite than normal, so they probably will be super smiting. So they'll get 1 super smite off with 3 bonus extra mortal wounds on it.
Okay. Yeah, so you can still you're still talking like 20 mortals here, because they can cast some sort of witch fire power as well, can't they?
Yeah, but there's a couple of those others dotted around. You've got the Malceptor in there as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mortal wounds coming out of this army. And to be honest, the Warriors blobs have got a decent amount of shooting and an excellent amount of melee.
Yeah.
It's not a one-trick pony.
Thank you very much for the education, Tony.
So there you go.
Wow.
That's my list.
Yeah, I mean, I was scared as shit when I was going to play against this, honestly. Like, I was convinced I was going to lose the game. I just did what I thought I could do best and sneaked it by a few victory points, I think it was.
The best thing you can do against an army you're afraid of is to learn exactly how it does what it does, I suppose. Yeah. Which makes perfect sense.
And like I say, I'm sure there's lots of horrible combos or broken bits that people have worked out, and they can stick them in the comments, and it will help other people out. Because, like I say, a lot of us, I'm not a NID player. I've no intention of being a NID player, and I don't think John or Mark are particularly thinking about it either. But
I'm far too an Angel player to want to ever play Tyranids.
Anything that you've got, any other tips and stuff will be really helpful for the community. So stick them in the comments below. And if you think my list is shit, make a better one then.
Yeah. If you think they're crap, call him a D-bag in the comment section.
Yeah. And come on, don't you want to run a unit with like 50 flyers in it?
Yes, that's why we're in Blood Angels.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that's that.
Jetpacks.
Awesome.
Jetpacks are cool.
Anyone got to say about anyone we've got any more on Tyranids?
No, that's all very good.
No, but I obviously have PTSD from playing them once, so if you had to play them repeatedly, I don't know. They're
kill the big ones.
Yeah, kill the big ones, but also the mortal wound output is just disgusting.
Not necessarily kill the big ones, but definitely kill the key ones.
Yeah. Anything with synapse needs to die. Okay, so call that a day then. Let's move on to
Cheers, Tony.
Part of Glory, because you guys shamefully forgot to put it in the last episode.
Yeah, we forgot. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we were overwhelmed by the rules from the Votan. That's what it was. We thought this is such a good and balanced book. We don't need Pile of Glory this week.
No, we totally forgot.
But we brought it back. So
yeah.
Let's see what we've got in the Pile of Glory.
Unfortunately,
how's you been up to then? Oh, John first.
Yeah, I've been working. I've done something. I ripped apart a shitload of old metal Death Company. You can see maybe on the second guy back there on the right hand shoulder. These are like metal Death Company shoulder pads from second edition, apparently. So power swords and infernal pistols. It's what everybody
keeps. A shit ton of inferno pistols,
except for that guy that's got a chainsword.
Yeah, so there's 7 guys here. There's 3 that have the infernal pistol and the power sword. Then there's 2 with power swords, and then there's 2 with infernal pistols. So I figure that lets me do like a 4 and 4 or a 3 and 5 either way. And the only reason that I didn't go 5 and 5 is because if I do make 5 and 5, I'm inevitably going to run out of points. I'm going to be like, mother effer, I need to find.
You want a little bit of flexibility.
I need to find 5 points.
So you've been sold on the idea of power swords on Death Company, then, have you?
When I did the math hammer for the 10-man squad with power swords, it seemed really tasty, and again, I lost against another list at the tournament where it was like, it's Harlequins, so everything's on transports, everything's open topped, and my list doesn't have the firepower to open top
Everything's got an
vehicles.
invulnerable save, so the AP from a power sword would make a blind bit of difference.
Yeah, but it's more about like, the Death Company with hammers are great, but they're only great if you can kill the target. If you can just kill a 95-point transport and then every guy, piles out of the transport, then you achieved nothing. Essentially, you traded your Death Company for a 90-point transport. So, and I think I also want to lean on Fury the Lost going forward because Blood Angels didn't get very good secondaries. Like I don't like Relentless Assault. You end up trying to chase one character around the map. It's not very reliable. The opponent can deny it. I don't know if you saw the game a few weeks ago where I killed Andrew's character in Relentless Assault. He spent CP to revive the character and then charged it into my Sanguinary Guard. So basically, like, rather than my character get the whole 15 points, and now I can't not attack him, so I have to kill him with a weaker unit. So he basically denied me 5 points doing that. It's pretty.
You're not talking Relentless Assault here. You're talking Blade of Sanguinius.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Okay.
I don't mind Relentless Assault actually, but yeah, Blade of Sanguinius. There's a few like janky things that can happen with it, and/or your opponent can just run away from you the whole game, which happened to me in the tournament actually in one of the games. The opponent just ran away from me for the whole game. So,
well, if you're doing that, then you're kind of controlling what their character can and can't do, right? Because you're making them contribute less to the game.
True, but it's a bit like what was the one before? To the Last. You're kind of putting all your eggs in this. Like, I don't like secondaries that are like 0 or 15. Right? There's no in between really. I mean, if you can't catch them, it's 0 points. You know what I'm saying? So
you can shoot them
with. What got I got bolters from my list, dude. Yeah. Like, what am I shooting them?
That's because your list have suddenly decided, even after all this time of going, you shouldn't go ABC. ABC is the wrong way to play. You must make sure you've got about 25% of your army as guns. And then you're like, I haven't got any guns in my army anymore because I ditched them all.
I don't like the Blood Angel shooting options.
Yeah, I mean the shooting options aren't great at the moment. That's the problem.
I think they're all right.
Well,
but that's a discussion for another day.
Yes. So I've been doing some stuff. I'm painting Death Company.
Yeah, cool.
I'm painting my Storm Speeder. We didn't really talk on that, but finally embracing.
I do think the Storm Speeder is a cool looking model.
It does look pretty cool, doesn't it?
I still don't like it. I'm sorry. I can't get behind it at all.
What don't you like about it?
It's huge.
Is it the R2D2?
It's unwielding. It's huge. I think their helmets look stupid for some reason. I mean, Space Marine helmets aren't the most attractive things at the best of times, but those helmets in particular aren't great. And for a mobile firing platform, I don't think it's that great, really.
I'll let you know after a few games.
Yeah, cool. Look forward to it.
It's very big, isn't it? I think that's what lets it down. I quite like the model apart from the weird R2D2. But I think it's very, very physically large. It'll be right bastard to hide. It's a lot of points and it's quite squishy.
Yeah. It'll be very easy to take out if they've got firing worth of damage you don't get first turn.
Sure. So yeah, cool stuff, John. Are those Sanguinary Guard new ones or the old ones you just?
Just ones that need finished. As always with me, I'm lagging behind. Things get done 75%, then something like these new Death Company come to the front of my table, and I need to try and finish stuff fully.
I can relate.
Oh yeah, I don't finish anything. Okay, so next up we've got Mark, and you've been busy.
Well, there's only 3 models there, really. I decided I'd better put a bit of paint on my Blood Angels captain in the top left there, so sprayed him up, started doing some highlighting so that I can start picking the details out and getting him towards finish from there. Because that is the iconic Blood Angels captain. He's just great, really.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry?
Yeah, I was agreeing. It's a cool model.
I signed up for a Blood Bowl tournament so that I could have an event coming up in November and another one in October that I haven't decided whether or not to go yet because I'm not sure if I have my team finished or not. So that Wood Elf lineman in the middle there is the paint scheme I'm going to go with because I tested it out on that guy and I quite like it. I've always been interested in going with a sort of like more aquatic theme rather than just your classic green Wood Elf stuff. So I'm going to call these the Riverside Riptides or something along those lines. Equally cheesy.
I'm not going to lie. The first thing that struck me with this guy is how shapely his arse is.
Yeah, you like that, did you?
It's a very shapely back end.
It's very tight.
It's very tight.
Ooh.
It's clearly a bit. Someone had a lot of work when they sculpted that in there.
You can pop off bottle tops in that arse.
Just like someone's really gone to town with sculpting two completely perfect cheeks.
Yes, I'll show you the rest of the team if that's impressed you, because there's some. Oh yeah, okay. And I slathered a shitload of contrast on the tree man in the bottom right there to start getting some work done on that one towards being painted and playable.
Have you finished Acorn yet or not?
Basically, yeah. I mean, he's tiny. You don't exactly need to do too much to him. I haven't based him properly, but he's basically painted. You got to do Acorn because why wouldn't you have a 3-star player when you buy a tree man? It's great. He's dirt cheap. He can't carry the ball because he's a fucking squirrel, but he's mental. He's so psychotic in the game. It's great. And now that you're getting settled in and stuff, we'll set a day to go to Warhammer World, have some games of Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that in a minute.
Because one of our viewers
it's coming up. It's coming up, Mark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've separated that.
I'll not get premature. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
don't
get premature. There's pills for that now. So, and then this is what I've been up to because I've been moving house, so I've done fuck all basically. Apart from I'm working on a squad of incursors. So that is my incursors as they that's these incursors as they stand at the moment. I've mostly been painting
very nicely indeed, aren't they?
Yeah. I've been doing them mostly in a couple of streams, but they're getting there slowly.
I like how you didn't give them the stupid incursor helmets. Just saying,
because they're terrible.
Yeah,
they are the Mark IV Blood Angels specific helmets from Forge World.
Yeah, they look much better,
and they're exceptionally good. Yeah, very nice indeed.
It kind of made sense to me from a fluff point of view because the Mark IV was supposed to be the most advanced helmet they made. So it had the most high-tech sensor systems and stuff in it, and then the later ones kind of simplified it and pulled some of them out and things because they were too complex to make. And a lot of the Primaris stuff has taken a lot of influence from the Mark IV. So I thought...
Because it's all sort of heresy era stuff and heresy tech that Call took a lot of inspiration from. That makes sense.
Yeah, so if that was like the peak of Space Marine tech and it's been degraded from then, Call sort of brought it all back and pushed it a little bit further. So I thought we'll go with Mark IV heads on these. It could look quite cool. And I'm relatively pleased with how it looks. We look a lot better when they've got a bit more shading in that in there. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Not the most exciting thing ever, but there we go. A couple of squads.
Is this your first unit of incursors?
It's not, but it's replacing them because I don't like them.
Okay.
And I like these more.
Fair enough.
That's where I'm going with that.
Cool. What are you going to do with the old ones?
I don't give them away probably. So let's roll on then. Now, this is where it gets the last little bit because we're more or less finished the thing. And this is what Mark was talking about a minute ago. So one of our Patreons very kindly sent us some stuff.
Thank you very much, Foz. Very kind of you indeed. Very much appreciated. I'm getting my way through the Death Watch book. It's a slog because the rules are really complicated.
Yeah, really complicated. So yeah, Foz kindly sent us a couple of little bits and pieces. John didn't get anything because he's the least popular grot. But yeah, so Mark has kindly agreed to teach me how to play Blood Bowl. Now I've got the rule book, and I have a Snotling team that I bought because I thought the models were cool. So I think we're going to try and hook up and go up to Warhammer World so that Mark can teach me how to play Blood Bowl. And if we can, we're going to try and film it. But I'm not sure how they feel about filming games there at the moment.
And we'll post publicly on the Discord when we're planning on going. So if there's any people who want to come along and share a drink and some food and jeer at us as we have a go at Blood Bowl, then
yeah,
sure.
So you'll probably see me on stream painting my Snotlings.
You might have to take photos, but you could always take some photos of the game. That might work.
Yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely. I'm quite excited about it. I haven't played Blood Bowl since the original release of Blood Bowl. I don't mean modern Blood Bowl, I mean really old.
It hasn't changed very much. I was really worried about how much the new rules where they added an extra stat into would change the game, but it really hasn't. It still plays very much the same as it did back in the 90s. Absolutely love it. Great game.
Wicked.
So yeah, cheers, Foz. A+, top man. Thank you so very, very much indeed.
And if you wanted to become one of our lovely Patreons, we wouldn't say no.
Supporting
we
us.
offer absolutely no perks whatsoever, apart from you can sometimes ask us to do things, and we'll try and do them.
Yeah, if we've actually got a plan as to what we're going to do for the next few episodes, then we'll occasionally post up what that plan is, so you get an idea of the sort of things we're going to do. The support would be along the tunes of like a cup of coffee or two every month, and it would support us in the material that we get to look at and review and cover for your benefit. So yeah, it just keeps things going, really.
Yeah, and it means that our respective
If you find us funny, if you get value out of what we say,
yeah.
I was going to say, I have
maybe sign up.
If you enjoy us taking the piss out of John, quite a lot, yeah.
I have the Blood Bowl board when it was like the grey polystyrene. That was my first ever Games Workshop game. In the blue box, where I think you had like one team was in blue plastic and one team was in red plastic.
They still are. They still are.
Yeah. Okay.
They still cast them in coloured plastic. It's specifically for that. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take some photos of how badly I painted them and share them. That's going to be a problem.
If you've still got them, we'll come up and play, John.
Yeah,
I've still got them.
They're
just the paint on them is literally a centimetre thick. That's not an exaggeration. I mean, like 8-year-old John or something, you know, wasn't
Nothing
happy
wrong
at times.
with that at all. That's all part of the hobby. We've all been there.
But I mean, they got me started, right? I'd got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The rules back then were a lot simpler. For Blood Bowl, there was nothing to it. You threw the ball and you ran with the ball, and that was it.
So there's a kind of like a Blood Bowl. There's like 3 versions of Blood Bowl. There's Blood Bowl, the main game, which is Blood Bowl 11s, and that's going to take 2.5 hours, and you're going to play 8 turns with 11 players, and 8 turns and a half with 11 players. That's fine. There's also a game called Blood Bowl 7s, which has a smaller pitch. You have 7 players. You have 6 turns. And it's a lot quicker to play. You can get a game done in like an hour and a half, depending on how practiced you are at it. And there's also a small introductory Blood Bowl game called Blitz Bowl, which is like a game in a box sort of thing. And it's kind of like in the same way Warhammer Underworlds is to Age of Sigmar. It's like an intro to Blood Bowl that it's inspired by, but the rules are really, really simplified compared to it. But it's a great game to just bash out a game over the space of like half an hour, 3/4 an hour or so.
Nice.
It's very cool.
That sounds wicked, actually. That'd be a good
It's
one.
also only available in
the
the States, which is really annoying.
Weird.
You got to order it from the States to get it shipped over here.
Do you have a copy?
That's shit.
Sorry? A friend of mine does, and he's planning on getting one, so I might piggyback off his order and order another one. I've been thinking about it because he did the introduction to it a couple of weeks ago, and it was really good fun.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Sounds wicked. So yeah, if you got any benefit out of this video, leave us a like, or if you want to add anything or take the piss, leave us a comment. If you didn't like it, click on the dislike button. You're allowed to not like it. We'll just hate you forever. And remember to subscribe responsibly. Don't waste those subscriptions because they are limited.
There is someone that categorically dislikes. It's like one guy, because it tells you on my Blood Angels Commander videos, it's like all of my videos, it's like one dislike, one dislike, one dislike, and I'm like,
that's me.
It's gonna be like, who's this fucking guy? Like, if you don't like the videos, why are you clicking through all of them? Just fucking don't watch any of them, you know, like move on.
That's gonna be the sort of person who, when they do a whip round for like a birthday fund for the person at work, he's the sort of person who puts in a penny.
That's gonna be like, there's enough YouTubers doing stuff that, like, if you don't like my videos, that's fine. I mean, just don't watch them, right? Like, you don't need to click dislike, but it's fine.
Yeah, watch them and dislike it.
Yeah, watch them and dislike it.
Let's be the algorithm doesn't care if you like it or dislike it. It just wants content. It just wants interaction.
Views on paper.
So feel free. If you thought this is shit, then by all means dislike it. If you thought it wasn't totally shit, click on the like button.
Yeah, good job on making the slides this week, Tony. Do we know what's next on the Grots channel?
We have no fucking idea
Not
what's next.
a fucking clue.
We've got a couple of ideas, but we haven't.
We've got a
settled
Patreon
them
request
down
that we cannot
even slightly.
figure out how to understand, let alone do.
Okay,
Which
cool.
was that?
Um,
Is that the Crusade?
the one with the gladiators.
Oh yeah, that's just gonna be exercising dice rolling though.
Okay.
Because none of us own any gladiators.
Oh right,
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a
Rate
Patreon request we
Gladiator.
can't do, and we've got the Thing movie that you're going to watch soon, so we can do that.
Yeah.
but that's going to be
So
something
that's in
random.
like 6 weeks.
That won't be an
do that for a
episode,
while.
Okay.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
watch the Avatar reissue tomorrow though, so that should be fun.
All right.
It's in the blue people that have
Yeah.
a weirdly close relationship
Yeah.
with their animals.
In IMAX, in 3D, in a cinema. I'm just gonna watch it again because watching it in 3D when it first came out, it was stunning.
Oh, it was. I
And
still
it's been
maintain
remastered
probably
to
the
4K in
best 3D
IMAX. So yeah,
that's
I thought
ever
I'll
been
do that.
done. I just thought the storyline was weird.
Well, the storyline is basic crap, really, isn't it?
It was pretty ropey. The 3D was amazing. Everything else was terrible.
I mean, they
Exactly.
named the ore
Just
that
for the
they
experience.
needed unobtainium. I mean,
Unobtainium. Yeah, I thought that was good.
I like that. Yeah, that's my favourite bit of the whole movie.
Silly movie.
You know
Cool.
the commander guy, the guy that like was in the sort of dreadnought thing with the
Yeah.
knives. He was originally going to be Michael Biehn. You know that, right?
Yeah.
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 Just
I
because
didn't
James
know that.
Cameron
That'd be
always
cool.
works with him, I guess, or he used to
Yeah.
always work with him. Would it have been the same?
No.
I don't know.
It's cool.
He was probably the best character in that.
Yeah, he was pretty badass, wasn't he? And Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I don't know how many there are, but there's a shitload of them. They're all coming, aren't they? Later this year,
He
right?
made
Supposedly.
2 of them back to back or something.
Two and 3, possibly 4 might have been done back to back, and 2 is due out this December.
December, yeah.
I saw a
10 or
comment
11
from him
years
the other
after.
day, and apparently the studio were worried about the new movies, and he was like, "But I made Titanic," and all I could think was, "Yeah, but you also made some right shit, so don't go down that route." You know?
Oh, well.
You made some good stuff, and you made some dross.
He was saying I
On
made
that
Titanic
note-
like it was an amazing movie, or what?
Yeah, I think that's what he's implying. You know, trust me, I know what I'm doing. I made Titanic,
Okay.
and there was room on that door for more than one person.
I was gonna say, yeah. And the boats were only like 50 meters over there if they just swam. You know, that was my biggest problem with that movie.
Yeah,
Like
there
the
was-
rescue boats are there, but it's 50 meters, guys. We'll just chill here on this door.
yeah, and get off my door because
2 people can't
Oh,
float on
shit.
one door. Yeah.
yeah.
Before this degenerates further, should we maybe wrap it up there?
Bye bye
If you're
everybody.
watching our channel, you know we're a bit random. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Teeny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See-
a little bit.
See
Toodles.
See you later.
you in a few weeks.
Bye.